Chapter 354. Yun Xing looked around the arena. Second uncle, her, and Zhou Quan were the three of them. However, in terms of strength, second uncle Yun Songlang's strength was unquestionable. The leader of the opposing team, Songlang, was not weak either. As for Huanu, she had 4 magic soul stones on her magic scepter. She was a holy sorcerer. As for Lu Hao, he was able to become a B-grade hunter at such a young age. His strength should be at the level of a martial honor. At first glance, the Wolf Fang Hunting Corps' strength was obviously stronger than the Heaven Felling Corps. After all, the current competition was 3 wins and 2 losses. There was a limit to the number of matches. Xinger. Yun Songlang also noticed this point. Just as he was about to remind Yun Xing not to be fooled, Yun Xing spoke first. 3 wins and 2 losses is fine. However, we will decide the participants. Sure, but the participants must be from the Heaven Felling Hunting Corps. Huanu looked at Yi Baiming meaningfully. This unbelievably handsome man had not spoken a single word since he entered the tavern. However, no one would ignore him. Even with Huanu's cultivation, no one could tell his level of cultivation. He's not from our hunting corps. He won't participate. Yun Xing quickly distanced herself from Yi Baiming. She did not plan to let Yi Baiming fight. Little wildcat, you're making me very sad. Yi Baiming touched his nose and squeezed out an ugly smile on his handsome face. However, it was not convenient for Yi Baiming to investigate the affairs of the people. The residence of Yun was currently in a delicate situation in Zhou State. The Emperor of Zhou State obviously wanted to watch the tigers fight from the sidelines. He was a nosy prince who occasionally acted as a hunter. The Emperor of Zhou State would not have any objections. However, if he was directly related to the residence of Yun, it would be a different story. Straightforward. Since Deputy Commander Yen has spoken, we, the Wolf Fang Corps, will definitely accompany you to the end. If you win, I will persuade Lu Hao and Miss Yen Yu's family to let you undergo a second autopsy. However, if you lose, you will have to hand over Tang Yu. A cold light flashed in Huanu's beautiful eyes. Tang Yu was so scared that he was sweating profusely. He actually wanted to say, "You people are betting on my life and death, you should at least ask for my opinion." But when she recalled Yun Xing's warning and ferocious gaze, Tang Yu had no choice but to stand together with Yi Baiming with a red face, waiting for this evenly matched hunter competition. Since the words had already been spoken, it would be difficult to change them. Yun Songlang handed it over to Yun Xing and lowered his voice. "Xing, what are you planning? Huanu and Lu Hao's skills are obviously much higher than yours. If we want to win, we need to win at least 2 matches." He also knew that Yun Xing had a lot of tricks up her sleeve, but no matter how clever she was, once it was a one-on-one competition, it was useless. He might be able to defeat Songlang, but if Yun Xing and Zhou Quan were to win another match, he was afraid that, "Second uncle, it's just 2 wins and 1 loss. We still have more than a 50% chance of winning." Yun Xing glanced at Huanu. The magic scepter in her hand was filled with fire-type soul stones. In Yun Xing's eyes, it looked like the horn of victory. If it was a month ago, she wouldn't be so stupid as to compete with a sacred magus like Huanu. A sacred magus magic cultivation was 2 magic realms higher than Yun Xing's, who was only an archmage at that time. The difference between the 2 magic realms was not easy to cross. However, after Yun Xing obtained the Fire of Elves, it was very different. "Captain Song, this humble one is Yi Baiming. I am Deputy Captain Yan's best friend. Today, I am fortunate enough to witness the competition between the 2 great hunting groups of Zhou State. Yi Baiming has a presumptuous request. I hope to be the referee of this competition." When Yi Baiming mentioned his best friend, he deliberately emphasized his tone. Everyone could hear the special meaning in his words. Yun Songlang and Zhou Quan looked at Yun Xing with strange expressions. However, Yun Xing rolled her eyes at Yi Baiming. The latter looked satisfied and returned her a coquettish glance. His surname was Yi Baiming. Yi was the surname of the royal family of Zhou State. In addition to Yi Baiming's noble aura, his identity was self-evident. Songlang couldn't refuse. It was good that there were people from the royal family present. Otherwise, there would be other explanations later. Songlang and Yun Songlang didn't have any objections to Yi Baiming taking the initiative to be the referee. Before the competition began, both parties had to have a short discussion to determine the number of people who would compete. The people in the tavern took advantage of this time to clean up the extra tables in the tavern so that the 2 hunting groups wouldn't raise the entire tavern to the ground. Yun Xing pulled Yun Songlang and Zhou Quan to the side and deliberately lowered her voice. She was also afraid that others would hear her, so she simply cast a magic circle around her. On the other side, the people from the Wolf Fang hunting group were calm. Is that Yen Yun stupid? She actually agreed to Deputy Captain Hua's condition. With their mediocre skills, how can they beat the three of us? Lu Hao said with disdain. At this moment he even suspected that the Yen Yun, who shocked everyone when she started a massacre in the Hunter's Fort on Mount Daoi that day, was really the harmless-looking girl in front of him. After all, from the looks of it, it had only been a year. How could there be such a huge change in the other party's body? Don't underestimate her. Huanu didn't let down her guard because of Yun Sheng's straightforwardness. On the contrary, she felt that there was something hidden behind Yun Sheng's smile. I think so too. Didn't you guys notice that even though Yun Songlong is the group leader, including Yun Songlong himself and another hunter, after Yen Yun came, they all followed her lead. As the group leader, Song Lang was even more considerate. If the young hunter listened to Yen Yun, it would make sense. However, even Yun Songlong, who had been on the battlefield for a long time, did the same. That was strange. Oh right, Lu Hao, the scene recorded in your previous magic scroll shows that Yen Yun is a summoner, right? Huanu thought left and right, then looked at Yun Sheng's magic staff that was only inlaid with 2 soul stones. She couldn't understand where Yun Sheng's confidence came from. The only possibility was Yun Sheng's summoned beast. However, she didn't see Yun Sheng's summoned beast. Yes, I remember. Her summoned beast doesn't seem to be anything special. It's just a dog? Lu Hao had seen the magic scroll countless times and was very familiar with the scene in the magic scroll. Humph, then when the time comes, I'll make sure she doesn't even have time to summon. Huanu was a sacred magus. Her chanting speed was more than 10 times faster than the average magus. If Yun Sheng still expected to be able to summon a summoned beast during a battle, then she was gravely mistaken. Yi Baiming and Tang Yu stood at the side. No one knew what the two sides were discussing. Tang Yu wanted to take this opportunity to escape. However, when he looked at Yi Baiming next to him, he didn't have any thoughts of running away. Although Yi Baiming was just standing at the side, Tang Yu felt his legs twitching just by standing next to him. If Tang Yu was afraid of Yun Sheng, then he was in absolute awe of Yi Baiming. Those people from the Hunter Corps might not know Yi Baiming's identity, but Tang Yu knew. He had stayed in Wushuan Everlasting School for a period of time. He was very clear about the legends of Yi Baiming's inhuman strength. Chapter 355. The former crown prince who came out of the cold palace, after being imprisoned for many years, shocked the world with a single feat and joined the Wushuan Limitless School. Although he was a prince, he had entered the Wushuan Limitless School at about the same time as Tang Yu. No matter who it was, they treated everyone equally. Tang Yu and Yi Baiming both started from the outer hall and participated in the morning, afternoon, and night training. However, Tang Yu did not last for a year and left the Wushuan Limitless School. Yi Baiming, on the other hand, rose from the outer hall to the inner hall like a rocket in more than a year's time, and finally became the #1 expert in the inner hall. Tang Yu had never seen him make a move, but he had heard that the two great experts in the inner hall, senior brother Qing Bai and Bu Jiuxiao, who were martial marquis, could only fight to a draw with Yi Baiming. That was just an old news from a year ago. He did not know what terrifying realm Yi Baiming's strength had risen to after a year had passed. Yi Baiming did not pay attention to Tang Yu's gaze. If not for Yun Sheng, he would not have interacted with someone like Tang Yu. Even with the soundproofing effect of the magic array, Yi Baiming's eyes, from beginning to end, only fell on Yun Sheng's body. Looking at her plump red lips, opening and closing, and her pitch-black eyes, a flash of intelligence, Yi Baiming suddenly felt very pleased in his heart. He actually wanted to tell Yun Sheng that he knew some lip reading, and he heard everything she said. As expected of a little wild cat, to be able to think of such a moral idea. Inside the magic array, Yun Songlong and Zhou Quan's expressions looked as if they had swallowed an egg. On the other hand, Yun Sheng's beautiful face was flushed red, and her face was beaming with joy. Yi Baiming watched in satisfaction, and his heart softened. During the time when Yun Sheng first disappeared, he felt that he was like a violent wild beast that wanted to tear apart everyone around him. It wasn't until he contacted Yun Sheng that he felt his anger disappear all of a sudden. He liked to stay with Yun Sheng. Even if the two of them did not say anything, just looking at her frown and smile from afar would make him feel relaxed. Perhaps she was the other half of his life. Inside the magic array, Yun Sheng did not notice Yi Baiming's gaze and repeated the plan. Second Uncle Zhou Quan, do you understand? If you understand, give me some reaction? Seeing her second uncle and Zhou Quan's dumbfounded expression, Yun Songlong for Yun Songlong. Yun Songlong fell silent. Why did he feel that his niece was so wicked? Yun Songlong Yun, was Yun Songyue Yun Yun Songyue Yun Yun, Was Yun Songyue was Master Yun Yun. Young Master Yun was the kind of ruthless character who could make people laugh even in death. Zhou Princess Yun Yu was Yun Yun Yu Yun Masters Yun 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 Yuns. I think that's too cowardly. Then what do you want to do? Or do you want to fight with that female magician? Let me tell you, a single fire magic from her can burn your entire body until it's as smooth as a white chicken. Yun Xing threatened Zhou Quan with a fierce face. When Zhou Quan heard this, he felt even more embarrassed. Forget it, who asked him to meet Yun Songlong? What dignity? Go to hell. Xinger, your arrangement already has the best chance of winning. But do you really want to fight with Huanu? You know her strength. Yun Songlong originally planned to fight with Song Lang and barely win the first round, then let Zhou Quan fight with Huanu and finally Yun Sheng and Lu Hao. However, Yun Sheng insisted that she must fight with Huanu. Both of them were magicians. If they really fought, Yun Sheng would definitely be at a disadvantage. Second uncle, I have my own way. Don't worry, as long as you follow my arrangement, the Wolf Fang Hunting Corps will definitely lose. Yun Sheng's face was full of confidence. Her confidence also infected Yun Songlong and Zhou Quan. After the discussion, Yun Sheng removed the soundproof magic array. The Wolf Fang Hunting Corps had also finished their discussion. There were a total of 6 people on both sides, each occupying one side. Tang Yu hid in the corner obediently. Yi Baiming walked forward and said loudly, "Today, I am honored to be the witness of the competition between the Sky Extermination Hunting Corps and the Wolf Fang Hunting Corps. Both sides have agreed to use the best of 3 method to determine the winner. The loser will follow the rules of the competition. If you are willing to bet, you must accept your loss. Also, this competition is not a life and death battle. Both sides must not overdo it." After Yi Baiming finished speaking, the leaders of both sides walked forward. They each raised a big bowl of wine and drank it. After Song Lang drank the wine, he smashed the bowl in a forthright manner. The sound of the bowl landing on the ground was unusually ear-piercing. "Leader Yun, I have long heard of your name. Today I am honored to be able to compete with you. No matter if I win or lose, I will definitely not say anything." After saying that, he got into his stance and was about to start the fight. Yun Songlong held the empty bowl and paused for a few seconds. Then he coughed and said regretfully, "Leader Tsong, I am afraid that your wish will not come true. I will not be the one to compete with you in the first round." Yun Songlong braced himself and took a step back. Under Yun Sheng's gaze, Zhou Quan, who had a long face, took a step forward and faced Song Lang. Zhou Quan's voice trembled, "I am sorry everyone. I am Zhou Quan, an E-class, no, a D-class hunter of the Sky Felling Hunting Corps. I just advanced a while ago." With every word that Zhou Quan said, the veins on Song Lang's arm, which were popping out due to anger and humiliation, squirmed like earthworms. "Yin Songlong, what do you mean by this? You send a D-class hunter to fight with me. You are humiliating our Wolf Fang." Song Lang went berserk on the spot. He did not expect that the leader and vice-leader of the Sky Felling Hunting Corps would not be willing to compete in the first round. An ordinary hunter, a D-class hunter that even Lu Hao could not defeat. Huanu and Lu Hao were also shocked, especially Lu Hao. Zhou Quan, who was obviously the weakest in the Sky Felling Hunting Corps, was going to compete. Then the remaining 2 people. Did that not mean that he would most likely be competing with Yun Songlong? With Yun Songlong's skill, he could easily swat away his concealed weapon like swatting a fly. What was the point of competing? The smile on Huanu's face could no longer be maintained. She glared angrily at Yun Sheng. What a cunning little girl. No wonder she agreed so readily. Yi Baiming, on the other hand, shook his head and laughed. He had seen everything that Yun Sheng had mouthed just now. This little wild cat, not only did she have strange medical skills, her way of persuading people was also very strange. The battle formation that Yun Sheng had arranged was Zhou Quan versus Song Lang, Yun Songlong versus Lu Hao, and herself vs Huanu. When such a battle formation was proposed, it was immediately rejected by Yun Songlong. Yun Songlong had his own set of theories. He believed that the battle between hunters was like going into battle to kill the enemy. The first round was the most crucial. The first round must be won. Only then would they be able to achieve a record of 3 wins and 2 losses in one go. However, Yun Sheng completely rejected Yun Songlong's point of view. She believed that in a situation where the enemy was strong and they were weak, they had to show weakness to make the other party lower their guard. She even gave a very simple story. It was a story called Tianji's Horse Racing. Chapter 356. It was about a minister called Tianji who had a horse race with the emperor of his country. The rule of the horse race was to win 2 out of 3 rounds. Every time he competed, he lost. Because no one else's horse could beat the emperor's horse. In the end, Tianji used an even more ingenious method under the advice of one of his family's advisors. It was still 2 out of 3 rounds. Both sides would send out 3 types of horses, which were superior, intermediate, and inferior. In the past, Tianji would always lose. But this time he changed his strategy. He used his inferior horse to fight the emperor's superior horse, the intermediate horse to fight the opponent's inferior horse, and the superior horse to fight the opponent's intermediate horse. In this way he really obtained a battle record of 2 wins and 1 loss, smoothly obtaining victory. Yun Xing used the story of Tianji's horse race to compare the strength of the Sky Slayer hunting corps and the Wolf Fang hunting corps. Yun Songlong and Song Lang were both superior horses. In terms of strength, Yun Songlong and Song Lang might be neck and neck. Because this competition was limited, Yun Songlong did not have absolute confidence in winning. Yun Sheng and Huanu were both intermediate horses. The strength of a sorcerer could only be determined after the competition. Zhou Quan and Lu Hao were both inferior horses. Looking at the situation, Lu Hao was slightly stronger than Zhou Quan. If the 3 rounds of competition went according to everyone's expectations, the result would most likely be Yun Songlong drawing, Zhou Quan losing, and Yun Xing being undecided. In this way the chances of winning would be very low. But if they followed Yun Sheng's arrangement, the result would be Zhou Quan losing, Yun Xing winning, and Yun Xing being undecided. In this way Yun Xing only needed to fight for a draw and Tianji would be guaranteed to lose. If she won, Tianji would obtain a complete victory. From Yun Sheng's explanation, Yun Songlong comprehended a brand new military strategy. He could not help but be shocked. Yun Xing secretly said in her heart, "Great strategist son, please don't blame me. This junior will borrow your military strategy." As a result, the current battle formation was formed. But even if he knew that Yun Sheng and the others were playing tricks, Song Lang could not do anything. Who asked the deputy leader of the other party to say before the competition that the order of appearance and personnel would be decided by them. "Fine, let's fight then. You brat, I can break your spine with 1 punch." Blue Wolf had not been angered to this extent for a long time. He vented his anger on Zhou Quan. He had said that he would not overdo it, but since Zhou Quan did not respect him, he could not be blamed for being merciless. As long as he did not kill Zhou Quan, he would not go overdid it. "Guild leader Tsang, how can I fight with you?" The vice guild leader said that I'm just going through the motions. In the first round of the competition, I surrender and forfeit. After saying this, Zhou Quan took out a white handkerchief from his body and waved it as if he was performing a magic trick. Their young master had said that if they couldn't win, they could give up. Sometimes, running away was also a kind of victory. Song Lang's face was black and green as if it had been splashed with ink. He pointed at Zhou Quan and then at Yun Sheng. After a long time he finally said, "All right. You are very good. Since that's the case, I'll announce the results. In the first round of the competition, Captain Blue Wolf has won. This is the fastest competition I've ever seen." Yi Baiming suspected that Captain Blue Wolf had suffered serious internal injuries. "Then let's enter the second round. The second round is..." Yi Baiming looked at the lineup of both parties. Lu Hao walked out from the Tsang Lang hunting corps. Yun Songlong walked out from the Heaven Extermination hunting corps. "Leader Yun, Lu Hao knows that his cultivation is low and cannot be your opponent. But I am a member of the Tsang Lang hunting corps. Our group's motto is to die. Our heads can be broken, blood can be shed, but we cannot lose our dignity. So I, Lu Hao, must fight this battle." Lu Hao could be considered a man. He knew that there was a great disparity between his strength and Yun Songlong's, but he still braced himself to fight. After hearing Lu Hao's words, the 2 leaders of the Tsang Lang hunting corps were delighted. "Look, this is what it means to be a hunter." Compared to Zhou Quan, the difference was like heaven and earth. Zhou Quan muttered on the side, Our young master has taught us that as long as there is life, there is hope. If you don't want your life, then you are an idiot. After 20 years, whatever Tsang Lang will become a crippled wolf. At that time, it will be my time to shine." If Yun Songlong heard these words, he would probably be foaming at the mouth. He did not know that his niece had already brainwashed the Heaven Extermination hunting corps. Lu Hao's insistence made things difficult for Yun Songlong. Logically speaking, this time he had stood up for Tang Yuqiang and he owed Lu Hao. Logically speaking, Yun Songlong had already been famous for over 10 years. If he really fought against Lu Hao, even if he won, it would still be unreasonable for him to do so. "How about this? I will fight with you. But you are a junior and have an order of seniority. I will not fight with you for real. I can see that you are very skilled in using hidden weapons. Our fight will be using hidden weapons. Yun Songlong walked in front of Lu Hao and pointed at the dagger on his waist. You will use all of your moves. I will stand here without moving. You will use all of the hidden weapons on your waist to shoot at me. I will not move a single step and will not use my limbs to block. If you can hit me or force me to move a single step, then you win. When Yun Songlong said this, Lu Hao's eyes, which originally did not have much confidence, immediately lit up. The two captains of the Wolf Fang Hunting Corps, who had been made a fool of by Yun Sheng and had won, also couldn't help but be happy. You are the one who said this, Captain Yun. Lu Hao instantly gritted his teeth. He opened the soft armor on his body and a row of daggers could be seen on his waist. Lu Hao was good at using hidden weapons, especially throwing daggers. He was famous in the hunting corps for being a fast blade user. He had once killed more than 10 hunting corps soldiers who were on par with him on a mission without any support from anyone. He only relied on the row of hidden weapons on his waist to shoot and kill more than 10 hunting corps soldiers who were on par with him. It was also because of this that the Wolf Fang Hunting Corps made an exception and promoted him to a B-grade hunter. Yun Songlong's strength was very strong, but if he couldn't move his limbs and couldn't even move his feet, then he would be like a dead end. Lu Hao didn't believe that he couldn't hit Yun Songlong under these conditions. Second uncle. Captain. One family was happy while the other was sad. Yun Sheng was almost angered to death by her second uncle. She had spent a lot of effort to gain the advantage, but it was wiped out by him with one sentence. It wasn't that she didn't believe in her second uncle, but it was just that a horse could make a mistake. If he wasn't careful and got hit, then they wouldn't be able to compete in the next round. Sheng or Zhou Quan believe in me? Yun Songlong smiled faintly at the two of them, appearing very confident. Yun Sheng glanced at her second uncle. She realized that at that moment, her second uncle seemed to be radiating the heroic spirit of a young man. If they could completely let her second uncle get rid of the past through this competition and return to his former self, then why not? Either way, they would just have to pay with Tang Yu's life. Thinking of this, Yun Sheng felt relieved. Then I'll offend you. Please enlighten us, Captain Yun. Lu Hao and Yun Songlong both got into their stances. Chapter 357. Yun Songlong was just standing there normally. His back was ramrod straight and his eyes were relaxed. He looked like he was taking a stroll after a meal. He didn't look like he was going to compete at all. On the other hand, Lu Hao looked as if he was facing a great enemy. He had been a hunter for many years and had seen a lot of things. However, if his opponent was Yun Songlong, one of the two heroes of Zhou State, he wouldn't be so sure. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Lu Hao moved immediately. The 5 fingers of his right hand were like springs as he instantly pulled out 3 daggers. Each dagger was extremely sharp and emitted a chill. The daggers turned into 3 arcs and directly attacked Yun Songlong's face, waist, knees and other vital points. The daggers were fast, but Yun Songlong was faster. His originally ramrod straight body only made a few small swings and easily dodged Lu Hao's 3 daggers. Lu Hao was also prepared. His left hand instantly threw out another 5 flying daggers. Yun Songlong's figure swayed and quickly dodged a few more times. When the daggers brushed past his body, Lu Hao suddenly jumped back. Using the strength of his legs and waist, he was like a fully tensed crossbow. His left and right hands quickly moved towards his waist. In an instant, the entire tavern was filled with the shadows of knives and daggers. On the walls of the tavern, countless shadows of daggers surrounded Yun Songlong like raindrops. Yun Sheng used her Shinong pupil and saw that Lu Hao's left and right hands actually shot out more than 50 daggers. This made Yun Sheng very surprised. He was indeed a hunter with the potential of the Wolf Fang Hunting Corps. 50 daggers could pierce a living person into a hornet's nest. Second uncle couldn't move. How could he dodge this time? Yun Songlong's face didn't change. In front of everyone's eyes, his figure disappeared in an instant. No, he didn't disappear, but Yi Baiming's gaze slightly changed. What a handsome body movement. Yun Songlong's title as a martial arts grandmaster was not undeserved. Just as the 50 over daggers were approaching him like a torrential rain, he exerted strength in his legs. His body was like a roly-poly toy, swaying non-stop in all directions. The bystanders could only see countless afterimages. Every time Yun Songlong dodged, he was only a hair's breadth away. However, Yun Songlong was always able to cleverly dodge a dagger. The dagger that was only a hair's breadth away was actually defused by his roly-poly body technique. His feet, however, did not move a single step, just as Lu Hao had promised him earlier. Lu Hao had just steadied himself. When he saw the current situation, a trace of doubt flashed across his eyes. Second uncle, nice dodge. Yunsheng couldn't help but praise. Good job, Commander. Zhou Quan was also dumbfounded. Song Lang and Huanu couldn't help but reveal looks of admiration. Lu Hao's hand began to tremble slightly. His gaze suddenly changed. With a chi sound, a dagger appeared in his hand. That dagger gathered all the fighting energy in Lu Hao's body. Once the dagger was released, it carried a force of several hundred pounds. The fierce fighting energy tore the surrounding air apart. The air seemed to have been heated by the dagger, emitting a scorching smell and rolling heat waves. At this time Yun Songlong had already dodged most of the daggers. He also aimed at that dagger. His body and eyes reacted at the same time. His body slightly swayed, and just as he was about to dodge, hiss! There was a soft hiss, as if a poisonous snake was hissing in his ear. The dagger exploded in midair, instantly turning into countless sharp fragments. Lu Hao, that brat, was smart. When Song Lang and Huanu saw the dagger suddenly explode, they broke out in cold sweat. However, when they saw that the dagger had exploded into hundreds and thousands of fragments, they couldn't help but be overjoyed. Yun Songlong, didn't you have a body technique? You could dodge more than 50 daggers in one breath. Could it be that you could dodge more than 100 dagger fragments at once? Lu Hao was different from the other hunters who were good at using concealed weapons. He usually practiced with his dagger, not only using fighting energy, but he also liked to research his own unique method of using concealed weapons. He could use concealed weapons, he could use his waist, he could use his hands, and he could use his brain. Yun Songlong's strength was much stronger than Lu Hao had imagined. Lu Hao had already used up all his concealed weapons, but Yun Songlong was still handling them with ease. In a moment of desperation, Lu Hao came up with a plan. He pulled out the last dagger on his body and quietly poured his fighting energy into the dagger. The fighting energy of a revered martial artist was no small matter. He quickly poured his fighting energy into the dagger and quickly threw it out. The whole process only took a few seconds. However, in these few seconds, the dagger was torn apart and shattered by the fighting energy in the air. The fragments produced were comparable to countless daggers. Lu Hao believed that no matter how good Yun Songlong's body technique was, this time, it was impossible for him to dodge his clever move. Countless fragments, each of them flashed with a cold light. They whistled as they approached Yun Songlong in an instant. However, for some unknown reason, Yun Songlong actually stopped dodging. No one knew if he was thinking of how to dodge or if he had decided to just give up. Just as Yun Sheng and the others were feeling nervous, Yun Songlong suddenly shouted, "Retreat!" When his voice fell into everyone's ears, they only felt their eardrums buzzing as if thunder had suddenly descended. Those with weaker cultivations would probably immediately bleed from their 7 orifices and injure their internal organs. That shout formed a waterfall of fighting energy. The fragments of the dagger, which were originally less than a foot away from Yun Songlong, all fell to the ground like stones sinking into the ocean. Looking at the fragments of the dagger, each of them had already been compressed and deformed by the fighting energy. They were like deformed pushpins. Lu Hao's face was pale. He looked at the fragments of the dagger on the ground and then looked at Yun Songlong, who was still standing upright like a green pine tree. Only then did he know how big the gap between him and Yun Songlong was. Strength was everything. No matter how skillful he was with concealed weapons or how ingenious his techniques were, he was still inferior to Yun Songlong, who was standing still. Lu Hao was like a defeated rooster. He saluted Yun Songlong with cupped hands and said wholeheartedly, "Commander Yun, I lost." Only then did Yi Baiming announce, "Commander Yun wins the second round of the competition. After 2 rounds, 1 win and 1 loss. The third round? The third round is naturally between me and Yen Yun." Huanu's charming eyes slightly raised. She walked out and patted Lu Hao. "Lu Hao, you did very well just now. As long as you work hard enough, one day you will also reach Commander Yun's cultivation." Although they won the first round, Song Lang and Huanu were full of anger. Although they lost the second round, Song Lang, Huanu and Lu Hao were wholeheartedly convinced. This was the rule of survival for the hunters. They would rather lose openly than win without knowing the reason behind it. Yun Songlong also looked at Lu Hao approvingly and nodded. In that situation just now, the opponent was only an ordinary young hunter. It was really not easy for him to react so quickly. Only then did Lu Hao pull himself together. He secretly thought that in the future Yun Songlong would be his goal. He must surpass him. The third round of the competition was the last and also the most important one. Yun Sheng and Huanu both walked out. Chapter 358. Huanu smiled and said, "Little girl, you are so scheming. You forced me to take action. I thought we would only have 2 rounds of competition. Huanu originally planned to win the first 2 rounds, but she didn't expect that Yunsheng's last-minute plan would force her to enter the 3rd round. Deputy Commander Hua, you are too polite. Both of us are magicians. You are older than me, so I call you sister. Since you are my elder, you can decide how we will compete in this round. As the saying goes, one shouldn't slap a smiling face. Yunsheng had a delicate appearance. Now that she called her sister, Huanu was really embarrassed to be angry with her. Hee, since that's the case, I'll call Vice Commander Yen little sister. I heard that you are a summoner? Huanu's beautiful eyes wandered as she wondered if Yunsheng would play any tricks in the competition later. Although I am a summoner, I don't often use my summoned beasts to fight. Since we are both magicians, of course we will use magic. I promise that I won't use my summoned beasts in the competition later. Yunsheng's words made Huanu even more puzzled. She didn't use her summoned beasts. She was only an archmage. How dare she compete with her, a saint magician? Let's compete in magic. My magic realm is higher than yours. If I fight with you directly, I will be bullying the weak. Why don't we try something else? Huanu smiled. She walked forward and held Yunsheng's hand. The two looked very intimate. Several men at the side looked at each other. What did these 2 women want? A magician's ability is divided into several kinds. For example, magic sensitivity, chanting, and destructive power. We are not a temple, so we won't compete in magic sensitivity. As for destructive power, this tavern is the property of the Hunter Union. If we make a big scene, the old guys of the Hunter Union won't let us go. So, let's go to an open space outside for this competition. Huanu said in a charming voice. Sister, you are right. Are we going to compete in magic chanting? Yunsheng looked well behaved. Her pair of black eyes made her look even more innocent. Seeing her like this, it was really hard to imagine that she had used so many methods earlier. Yi Baiming watched from the side and couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Yet another person had been tricked. Little Wildcat's tricks worked on both men and women. Let's compete in magic incantations. You know intermediate fire magic, right? Huanu originally wanted Yunsheng to follow her pace, but who knew that unknowingly she was following Yunsheng's pace? I know a little, Yunsheng said modestly. Then let's have a competition. Let's see who can shoot out the most flame bursts in the shortest amount of time. Huanu said. Yunsheng thought for a while and quickly agreed. Considering that the destructive power of the flame explosion could be big or small, they decided to proceed with the 3rd round of the competition outside the city. Sister, there is a river in front. Let's use the flame explosion one after the other and see whose fire magic is better. Huanu saw that Yunsheng didn't object all the way. She felt proud in her heart, but also felt that something was wrong. Blazing explosion was the 2nd type of fire magic that Yunsheng had comprehended. It was also a type of intermediate magic. For an archmagus, casting blazing explosion wasn't strenuous, but it wasn't easy either. Generally speaking, an archmagus would be able to chant 6 to 10 blazing explosions at a time when they were in a state of deep meditation. Huanu said that it was a fair competition, so she also used a special sealing spell to reduce her magic cultivation to that of an archmage. Even the last 2 soul stones on her magic scepter couldn't be used. Her actions seemed very fair. In the eyes of Wolf Fong and Sky Feld, it was also considered fair. However, Yunsheng sneered in her heart. Huanu was indeed worthy of being the vice-captain. If she hadn't lived 2 lives, she would have been fooled by her thoughts and calculations. Only mages, especially those who were experienced mages, would know that the difference between a Saint Magus and an Archmage wasn't just a difference in the amount of magic power. Since Huanu could become a Saint Magus, it meant that her magic control was very strong. It was at least 10 times stronger than an ordinary Archmage. This meant that even if they had the same amount of magic power, an Archmage could use sensitive magic control to fire no less than 30 flame explosions in a row. Therefore, if this competition went according to Huanu's plan, Yunsheng would lose and lose miserably. However, how could Yunsheng let Huanu manipulate her so easily? The river that the 2 of them chose for the competition was the largest river outside the Jade capital. Due to the dry weather, the river had shrunk to half of its original size. Brownish-yellow sand was exposed on the riverbed. Sister, why don't we just use magic together and see who's better? Yunsheng blinked innocently. Sure, everyone look carefully. I've already used magic to seal myself. For the time being, I'm an archmage like Sister Yen. Huanu showed everyone. Then let's begin. Let's start chanting at the same time. Huanu looked modest. She took out her magic scepter. Yunsheng also held her magic scepter tightly. Huanu's magic scepter was just like her clothes and appearance. It was a red jade bone scepter. Its color was like jade and it was half a person's height. It was much more eye-catching than Yun Sheng's enigmatic bone scepter. She also wanted to show off. She threw the red jade bone scepter in her hand high up in the air. With a beautiful hand movement, she held the bone scepter in her hand and started chanting. Ah. As soon as she started chanting, Huanu felt that something was wrong. Why was the fire magical element in the surroundings so scarce? Just now, she had clearly sensed that the fire magical elements in this area should be very abundant. Why couldn't she sense it all of a sudden? Just as Huanu was feeling surprised, she suddenly felt a violent magical fluctuation. This feeling. Huanu, who was chanting, immediately looked to her side. Her expression changed at once. Everyone present was a warrior. They didn't feel much of the change that happened. However, Yi Baiming, who was also a mage, narrowed his eyes slightly. Huanu felt a tidal wave of magical elements rushing toward Yan Yun, who was beside her. Among them, there were magical elements that Huanu had sensed when she was chanting. How could it be? How could it be? As the surrounding fire magical elements were sucked away little by little, Huanu's beautiful face was full of disbelief. She even forgot to chant. Her face was like a delicate spring flower that had been sucked dry of all its nutrients, quickly withering. Her beautiful eyes widened as if she had seen a ghost. She stared at Yun Sheng, her small mouth slightly open. Chapter 359. She could not understand how the other party, who was also a fire mage, could steal all the fire magical elements that originally belonged to her like a group of bandits when they started chanting at the same time. Leader, the deputy leader's condition seems a little strange. Although they were not mages, the two members of the Wolf Fang Hunting Corps felt that something was wrong with Huanu. Although the deputy leader of Huanu was a woman, she was famous for being resourceful in the group. During the development of the Wolf Fang Hunting Corps, they had encountered many crises, big and small, and Huanu had helped Wolf resolve them one by one. No matter how difficult the situation was, Huanu had never been as abnormal as she was today. Of course, Huanu did not know that the person she encountered today was not an ordinary fire mage, but the almost insane Yun Sheng. A mage's magical power was affected by many factors, but it was recognized that the more magic souls one had, the higher their magical affinity would be, and they would enjoy a certain level of priority when obtaining magical elements. Although Yun Sheng and Huanu had a gap in strength, and could not control magic as well as Huanu, the advantage of her 5 elemental magic souls made up for it to a certain extent. In addition, her magic scepter had the brand of the wind spirit, so her chanting was smoother and faster than the average person. However, the most important thing was that she was going to compete in fire magic today. Huanu thought that she had the absolute advantage in the battle of fire magic, but Yun Sheng did not let her have her way, because she had the brand of the Hellfire of the Elves on her. The Hellfire of the Elves was the most precious fire seed of the Fire Spirit King, one of the 4 Nature Spirit Kings. It was known as the King of all fires. Once the Hellfire of the Elves appeared, all the fires in the boundless land would pale in comparison. Not to mention, the surrounding fire magical elements immediately swarmed over when they smelled the Hellfire of the Elves, fighting to be the first to flatter it. To put it in perspective, Huanu and Yun Sheng were engaged in a tug-of-war competition. Due to the Hellfire of the Elves, Yun Sheng had 100 people on her side, while Huanu was left with only 1 person. The outcome of this competition had been decided from the beginning. That's impossible. Almost all of the fire magic elements have entered her body. Huanu gripped the red jade bone staff tightly. His fiery red nails pierced into his palm, and he felt a piercing pain. The pain made Huanu sober up a little. Impossible, it was impossible for an ordinary great magus to have such powerful magic senses. Could she be? Huanu thought again and suddenly remembered that Yan Yun had said that she was a doctor. It was very likely that she had used some kind of forbidden medicine to blindly enhance her magic sensitivity in order to win the battle. I can't be scared by him. The competition is still going on, so I must continue. Even if there is only a small amount of fire magic elements, I can still chant the most perfect flame explosion. Huanu's complexion became serious. He immediately adjusted his state of mind and calmed down. Then he began to chant the second chant. So what if he had a large amount of magic elements? Only a smart mage would know that the wisest choice was to use the least amount of magic elements to create the best effect. Generally speaking, a mage's physique was not strong. If Yan Yun had absorbed the magic elements that her body could not bear in order to win the battle, then her body would probably not be able to bear it when he released the magic later. Fire magic elements were the most dangerous of the 4 natural magic elements. They were full of violence. Huanu had once met a mage who had taken a similar kind of forbidden medicine. His body was directly torn apart by the violent fire magic elements, and he burned himself into a pile of ashes. Yin Yun, you asked for it. Huanu calmed down and continued to chant the second chant. Soon, she rushed into the surrounding environment to obtain the fire magic elements. Seeing that Huanu had recovered, the 2 members of the Wolf Fang Hunting Corps could not help but feel relieved. They believed that Huanu, the deputy leader, would be able to easily defeat the arrogant female mage this time. Yi Baiming and Tang Yu stood aside. Tang Yu's small eyes were anxiously looking at Yun Sheng and Huanu. He was in a dilemma. He wanted Yun Sheng to win, but at the same time he did not want her to win. If she won, his life might be saved. But if she won, it would prove that she was more outstanding than him. Yun Sheng's appearance had seriously threatened Tang Yu's position in the Yun mansion. It's better to win this round, and then let Mother ask the Bloody Hand Tycoon to kill that eyesore. Tang Yu thought insidiously. While they were waiting, Huanu and Yun Sheng finished chanting one after another. Middle-level magic, flame explosion. Huanu was the first to finish chanting. 2 soul stones on the red jade bone scepter in her hand lit up at the same time. They were the soul stones of 80-year and 200-year magical beast. The ratio of Huanu's magic scepter was quite good. Several flame explosions were shot out from the magic scepter. They were like meteors, rumbling through the sky and exploding on the surface of the river. Suddenly, water splashed everywhere on the surface of the river. The stones on the riverbed were also overturned by the shocking impact of the flame explosions. 1, 2, 3. Lu Hao and Zhou Quan could not hold back. They rushed forward and counted the number of flame explosions. There were a total of 15 flame explosions. The water on the surface of the river was blown up by the explosions and splashed several meters high. It looked like the surface of the sea had been hit by a violent storm. 15 flame explosions. It was not a lot, but it was barely enough. Huanu thought. She turned her gaze and looked at Yun Sheng again. At this time, Yun Sheng also waved the bewitching bone scepter in her hand. When the scepter was raised, the flame explosion did not appear as expected. Could it be that she had been chanting for a long time, but she did not even succeed in chanting the basic flame explosion? Tang Yu's heart thumped. He almost cursed out loud. She must be doing it on purpose. She wanted to kill him on purpose. Just when everyone was surprised, a sharp cry came from the sky. Everyone raised their heads at the same time, only to hear a flaming bird spread its flaming wings in the air. It dragged its peacock-like tail, and every feather that was formed from flames was clearly textured. That is? Flame transformation? Huanu could not help but cry out in surprise. The flame bird gave a crisp cry. Suddenly, its head and tail swayed, and the entire bird turned into a fireball. As the fireball rolled, hundreds of flame feathers fell from the sky. When the feathers were in the air, they turned into fist-sized flame explosions. Boom, boom, boom. It was too late to say, but it was too fast. Countless feather-shaped flame explosions hit the water at the same time. This pitiful river had only just digested 15 flame bursts a while ago when it immediately encountered the magic madman Yun Sheng. Hundreds of flame feathers turned into flame explosions. It was as if a submachine gun had swept across the river. On the surface of the river, waves splashed everywhere. Before the water vapor could splash, it was evaporated into white vapor by the high temperature of hundreds of degrees. The riverbed was also splashed with mud, and countless rocks were smashed into dust. The flame bird in the sky disappeared, but the water vapor and smoke in front of them had not dispersed. On the riverbank, the few people who were petrified did not even notice that they were drenched in mud and water vapor. Improved flame explosion, 9 Heaven Phoenix explosion. Yun Sheng wiped the sweat from her forehead and sighed. Chapter 360. Yun Sheng also did not expect that the fire magic soul in her body would undergo such a huge change after absorbing the fire of elves. Originally, she had only wanted to absorb a little more magic elements and release 20 to 30 flame explosions. Who would have thought that she would accidentally absorb too much fire magic elements in the air? When she finished chanting and was about to release the magic, she felt that the fire magical elements in her body were about to explode. This feeling was like a balloon that was suddenly filled with too much gas. If this continued, it would explode sooner or later. In order to find a suitable outlet, she had no choice but to change the flame explosion at the last minute. That was how she came up with her third fire magic spell. At the same time, it was also an improved fire magic spell. Its power was comparable to that of a high-level spell, the 9 Heavens Phoenix explosion. As it was her first time using it, Yunxing was not very satisfied with the form of a flaming bird formed by the fire magical elements. In her opinion, the form of a phoenix could be more perfect. But at least the effect of the flame explosion was achieved. This could be seen from the stunned faces of the few people. When the white smoke dissipated, the original appearance of the river was also revealed. The river was full of holes from the explosion. Not a single drop of water could be seen in the river. The entire riverbed was also blown to smithereens. It was also a fire magic spell. The result was obvious at a glance. Yi Baiming coughed a few times. He had dodged in time just now. Among the crowd, he was the only one with a clean face and clothes. Tang Yu was the most miserable. He was standing close to the riverbed and the mud that splashed out completely turned him into a mud figurine. The competition is over. I think everyone already knows the result. Yi Baiming secretly gave Yunxing a thumbs up. This fellow was really a monster. This new magic spell came at the right time. Not only did she win, but she also made the leader of the Heaven Extermination Hunters proud. Pooh, it stinks. Tang Yu also reacted. He spat out the river mud in his mouth and looked at Yunxing. His anger immediately turned into joy. We won. Ah, that's great. I don't have to die. Shut up. Yi Baiming rolled his eyes, picked Tang Yu up and tossed him aside. Tang Yu's beer barrel-like body flew out with a whoosh. His 4 feet were in the air and he was like an upside-down tortoise as he fell into the muddy riverbank. Now he could finally have some peace and quiet. I lost. Huanu's voice was as soft as a mosquito bite. Her mind was filled with the scene of the 9 Heavens Phoenix explosion. That was a spell that she had never seen before. She was able to complete the incantation in such a short period of time and cast it perfectly. She had really lost. She had lost completely. Even if she hadn't used her magic, she wouldn't have been able to use such magic. A sacred magus had actually lost so miserably against an archmagus. This could be considered the worst defeat that Huanu had ever experienced since he was born. You must have cheated. How could an archmagus release such inconceivable magic? Lu Hao couldn't stand it anymore. He pointed at Yunxing and was tongue-tied. He didn't know how to describe the magic that she had just used. God knew that he had been dumbfounded just now. It was said that magic was beautiful but useless, while combat skills were simple but useless. Lu Hao had always thought so. But today, after witnessing the magic of the other party's mage, Yan Yun, his view was completely overturned. For a moment he regretted becoming a warrior. He should have reincarnated as a mage. After the shock he was enraged. The other party was just an archmagus. There were plenty of archmagi in their hunting corps. But if there was one who could release such a magic, he, Lu Hao, would have to follow the other party's surname. So, after thinking about it, Lu Hao could only come to one conclusion. The other party had either concealed her strength or consumed forbidden drugs. I'm indeed an archmagus. But my strength has improved recently. I should be able to break through and become a master magus soon. Yunxing's face was calm. As for the forbidden drugs, did you see me take them when you were walking with me? Or can I go to the temple with you now to see if there are any remnants of the magic medicine in my body? No need. If you win, you win. I've already lost. I just want to ask you one thing. Yan, how old are you this year? Huanu returned to normal after experiencing the humiliation just now. Her character was like the fire magic element. She was straightforward. She would burn it all in one go. Once it was over, she would let it go. I'm 8 years old this year. I'll be 9 soon. Yunxing said. Huanu's mouth twitched. Song Lang's face stiffened. Lu Hao's jaw almost dropped. The 3 of them said in unison, You're only 8 years old. That's too abnormal. An 8-year-old archmagus. No, she would soon become a master magus. This kind of person was not only a monster but also a genius at the level of abnormal. No wonder the strong man at the level of Emperor Zhao accepted her as his disciple. Then why are you in the Sky Hunting Corps? With your magic cultivation and ability to comprehend magic, you should be recommended to join the mainland's magic elite camp. Huanu rolled her eyes. In her impression, such an abnormal person should not wander around the continent. They should all be caught and sent to the mainland's magic elite camp to compete with the group of abnormal magic geniuses. What mainland's magic elite camp? No one told me to go. Yunxing shrugged. Age would always be her Achilles heel. Looking at her appearance, the few people at the side only had one thought. Strangle her to death. The 3 people from the Wolf Fang Hunting Corps were completely speechless. Previously they were still ashamed of Yunxing's deceitful methods. However, after many competitions, They clearly understood that the other party did not use any despicable methods to win. On the contrary, the Sky Hunting Corps knew their strengths and weaknesses very well. Zhou Quan was the weakest among them, so they did not fight force with force. Instead, they simply admitted defeat. In this way, not only did they preserve their strength, but they also avoided casualties. This method was the most feasible for the Sky Hunting Corps. And the person who made this decision was precisely that abnormal magician who was not even 8 years old, Yan Yun. The Wolf Fang Hunting Corps and the others had a premonition that under the leadership of Yun Songlong and Yan Yun, the Sky Hunting Corps would very likely become a legend in the hunting world of Zhou State. It was even possible that they could make up for the regret of Zhou State's hunting world and become the first SSS-level hunting corps in the history of Zhou State. Of course, this was all in the future. Chapter 361. The Wolf Fang Hunting Corps accepted their loss and did not continue to pester them. Tang Yu was also pulled out from the mud by Yun Songlong. His head was covered in mud and he had already fainted from suffocation. If he went back like this, even his biological mother, Yun Songxue, would not be able to recognize him. When Yun Xing saw this, she pulled out a 4 Seasons glazed needle and pricked him a few times. That kid jumped up like a dead pig that had been scalded by boiling water. Tang Yu realized that he could not make a sound. He pointed at Yun Xing with a face full of anger. "You talk too much. Before I find out the cause of death, you shall remain mute." Yun Xing was not in a good mood. She was going to conduct an autopsy later. If not for the fact that she still needed Tang Yu's testimony, she really wanted to do what Yi Baiming did and kick Tang Yu until he would forever be a dead tortoise. Seeing Tang Yu's appearance, Lu Hao felt a little better. "The 3 of you, we are willing to accept our loss and agree to let Vice Commander Yan conduct the autopsy. However, this is also because I believe that Deputy Commander Yan's character will definitely uphold justice for me." Lu Hao was a magnanimous person. He led the members of the Sky Hunting Corps to the Yun residence. It's the Yun residence. When they saw Yun Songlong and the disoriented Tang Yu, the family and relatives of the deceased Miss Yan Yu all gathered around. Uncle, Auntie. Seeing the angry crowd that was about to erupt into a conflict at any time, Lu Hao walked out. He roughly repeated Yun Sheng's words to her. "Nonsense, Lu Hao. Xian Yu is already dead and you still want to humiliate her corpse. Moreover, look at those people behind you. They are all from the residence of Yun. How can you believe what they say?" Xian Yu's father walked out. He was an old scholar who had studied and cared about his reputation the most. After his daughter was defiled by that bastard from the Yun residence, he had once thought of marrying his daughter into the Yun residence. Who knew that his foolish daughter would not say a word and hang herself outside the Yun residence? Now they were saying that Xian Yu didn't hang herself. If this wasn't nonsense, then what was? "Father, you said earlier that Miss Xian Yu committed suicide. Let me ask you, if you were in her shoes, would you be able to hang yourself on such a tall ancient tree?" Yun Xing also knew that an autopsy was going to challenge the nerves of these ancient people. She simply took a few steps back until she reached the ancient banyan tree. The celestial jade was found hanging under the ancient tree. After being reminded by Yun Xing, Xian Yu's father walked to the ancient tree and looked up at the treetops. He was about 1.7 meters tall. Xian Yu was a woman, so she was only about 1.6 meters tall. However, even with Xian Yu's father's height, he was still more than a meter away from the top of the ancient banyan tree, which was closest to the ground. "Perhaps my daughter used a stepping stone and hung herself on it." Xian Yu's father thought for a moment and looked at the rock not far away. He reluctantly replied, "Moreover, we have already invited a doctor from the Medicine Emperor Pavilion. Dr. Ching came to take a look and he also insisted that our Xian Yu committed suicide by hanging herself. However, from what I know, when the Yun residence people found the corpse, there were no rocks or stools around. Instead, there were many signs of struggle beside Miss Xian Yu's hand." Yun Xing walked to the coffin and grabbed Xian Yu's hand. "I wonder if Dr. Ching checked these wounds at that time." Indeed, there were many small wounds on her wrist and fingers that had already changed color. This. Xian Yu's father was a scholar. How would he know so much? He didn't know how to respond. In the Medicine Emperor Pavilion, Cheng Sihai was in the middle of a discussion with a few doctors. Suddenly, someone outside requested to see him. The person said that he was Xian Yu's family and hoped that Dr. Cheng could spare some time to conduct an autopsy. Autopsy? What's going on? Didn't we already make it clear? Why do you still want to conduct an autopsy? Cheng Sihai's expression turned unfriendly. Ever since the incident with the volunteer medical consultation, Cheng Sihai had been plagued with bad luck. The medical reputation that he had accumulated over the years was almost completely destroyed. When Dagwa made him stop doing consultations for a period of time. Even the ordinary refining of pills was handed over to others. A large portion of a doctor's income came from conducting consultations. Cheng Sihai stopped doing consultations and his income was greatly reduced. The worst thing was that Qi Fangfei even ordered people to investigate his past pill refining and purchasing records. This caused a large portion of his income from medicinal herbs to be cut off. On one hand, Cheng Sihai wanted to restore his medical reputation. On the other hand, he had to think of a way to earn some income. Coincidentally, at this time, the Yun residence incident that shocked the entire Jade capital happened. He also happened to have some friendship with Xian Yu's father, that old scholar. Cheng Sihai was duty-bound and took the initiative to act as a coroner for a while. His intention was to borrow the Yun residence incident that had caused a commotion in the entire city to regain some attention. He wasn't proficient in autopsy to begin with. He merely skimmed through some of the notes of the Medicine Emperor Pavilion and based on the normal signs of hanging, he was able to write a death certificate. The diagnosis written on it was that the patient had hanged himself. In fact, through this incident at the Yun residence, Cheng Sihai had regained some of his reputation. When Daogua's anger had also dissipated, and he was relieved to allow him to resume his treatment. Since his goal had been achieved, Cheng Sihai naturally wasn't willing to touch any unlucky corpses. Dr. Cheng, the other party, said that Xian Yu might not have committed suicide. He said that your autopsy was wrong. The person who came to report the news was also at a loss. He was only a messenger. Who dares to question this doctor's examination? Or does he think that he is better than the doctors of the Medicine Emperor Pavilion? Cheng Sihai was dissatisfied. The other party said that the female doctor of the Little Ci Entong is young. The messenger said vaguely. Little Ci Entong? I'm afraid it's Yun Sheng. Only she dares to question our Medicine Emperor Pavilion and dare to conduct an autopsy. Cheng Sihai, our Medicine Emperor Pavilion can't lose to Little Ci Entong. Let's go, I'll go with you. Qi Fangfei walked out. She had been in the Medicine Emperor Pavilion for the past few days. Today when she came down she heard the news. She had investigated Yun Sheng's background and found out that she was actually the daughter of the eldest son of the Yun residents, Yun Songhai. If she could make use of Tang Yu's matter this time, she would be able to defeat Little Ci Entong in one fell swoop. This was much more efficient than starting from the herb supplier and slowly erasing Little Ci Entong. When Cheng Sihai heard this, he had no choice but to put down the work in his hand. Carrying a medicine box, he rushed over with Qi Fangfei. When they arrived outside the Yun residence, a simple shed was already set up outside. There was a group of Yun residence's guards outside, blocking the people who came to watch the show. We're from the Medicine Emperor Pavilion. We're here to conduct an autopsy. After showing their doctor badge, Cheng Sihai and Qi Fangfei walked in. The scene had already been cleaned up and most of the irrelevant people had already been asked to leave. Those present were the 3 people from the Wolf Fang Hunting Corps, the 3 people from the Sky Expedition Hunting Corps, Tang Yu, and Xian Yu's parents. Seeing their daughter's corpse being moved out, Xian Yu's parents burst into tears. Yun Sheng, what do you mean by this? Cheng Sihai took a look and saw that it was really Yun Sheng. He immediately flew into a rage. He had really seen a ghost. Ever since he met this brat, he didn't have any good days. His status in the Medicine Emperor Pavilion had plummeted and his reputation was ruined. Occasionally he would be questioned when he conducted an autopsy. The main culprit was this damned brat in front of him. Make way. The door of the Yun residence opened. Old General Yun Ba walked out accompanied by Uncle Yun and Yun Tsangxue. Yun Tsangxue saw her precious son's appearance. His face was bruised and swollen, his body was covered in mud and he couldn't even speak. She immediately fumed. Like a shrew she loudly scolded, "Who was it? Who made my Yue like this? It's already good that he's still breathing." Yun Sheng glanced at Yun Tsangxue and then looked at the cold corpse. A sharp light flashed through her eyes, causing Yun Tsangxue to immediately become mute. Yun Ba was still in the residence, racking his brains on how to deal with the bloody hand tycoon. Suddenly he heard Uncle Yun say that Yun Songlong and Yun Sheng had brought a group of people to the residence. Among them were people from the Wolf Fang Hunting Corps. Could it be that the negotiations had failed? Yun Ba couldn't help but walk out. Chapter 362. As soon as they reached the entrance, they heard that they were going to conduct an autopsy. Yun Sheng saw that almost everyone had arrived. Everyone, since everyone is here, I will explain the reason for the second autopsy today. I suspect that Miss Xianyu was murdered. Murdered? Other than the people from the 2 large hunting regiments, everyone else was shocked. Cheng Sihai even stuttered, "Nonsense." Her eyes were protruding when she died, her tongue was sticking out, and there were obvious strangulation marks on her neck. How could it be murder? You're obviously spouting nonsense to protect the people from the Yun residents. When Xianyu's parents heard this, they were also very agitated. That's right, our Xianyu was killed by that bastard Tang Yu. A life for a life. Lu Hao, don't you want to avenge Xianyu? Lu Hao was silent. He looked at Yun Xing. I hope that you can give a reasonable explanation. All right, Cheng Sihai, you and I are both doctors. You and I will conduct the second autopsy together, Yun Xing said, then took out a simple mask from the beast language ring and put it on her face. Yun Xing also took out a pair of modified gloves made of animal skin. The conditions in the boundless world could not be compared to the modern world, but some protective measures were still necessary. Yun Xing asked Lin Yao to help sew the gloves and mask using breathable animal skin. What's that? Cheng Sihai saw Yun Xing put on the mask and did not understand. He used to think that Yun Xing was weird, but after seeing her today he despised her even more. It's a medical device used to isolate the body. You won't understand even if I explain. It was not Yun Xing's first time coming into contact with a corpse. Even if the corpse was preserved with a magic array, it was easy for it to mutate in such hot weather. It would be bad if it was infected with unnecessary germs. However, there was no need to tell Cheng Sihai these things. I don't need to examine the corpse anymore. I already said last time that she hanged herself, Cheng Sihai said with disdain. Yun Xing ignored him and continued to examine Xianyu's corpse. Due to the protection of the magic array, Xianyu's corpse did not decay, and the texture of her skin was very elastic. Yun Xing had already roughly examined Xianyu's body earlier, but because of Xianyu's father's request, she had to invite Cheng Sihai before she could examine the body, so she didn't start the detailed examination. Yun Xing checked Xianyu's mouth and nose, then her hands and feet, then her neck as well as her ears and other more concealed parts. Please help me turn over. Yun Xing asked Cheng Sihai to help Xianyu up. What kind of examination is this? Cheng Sihai was furious. A mere doctor actually dared to order him, a dignified individual doctor around. However, with so many pairs of eyes looking at her, Qi Fangfei said coldly, "Listen to her." Qi Fangfei actually didn't understand what Yun Xing wanted to do. She had already completed the normal autopsy procedure. Cheng Sihai could only help Yun Xing turn over the corpse. Yun Xing brushed Xianyu's long hair and touched her cervical vertebrae. It's done. I can already be sure that Miss Xianyu was murdered, Yun Xing said firmly. How can you tell? Qi Fangfei's gaze changed. There are no marks on her hands and feet. If she hanged herself, how can there be no signs of her struggling to hang herself? However, the most important thing is her neck and chin. People who hang themselves have their cervical vertebrae broken downwards, but Miss Xianyu's cervical vertebrae are broken upwards. Yun Xing gave an example. The few doctors present fell into deep thought. Everyone else was at a loss. Tang Yu, Lu Hao, both of you come out. I'll have the 2 of them do a demonstration for everyone to see. Yun Xing also knew that it would be difficult for ordinary people to understand what she was saying, so she might as well do a live demonstration. Reconstructing a murder scene was a common occurrence in modern European and American detective films. However, this was the first time something like this had ever happened in the boundless continent. Lu Hao walked out. When Tang Yu heard that, he also had to come out. He was so scared that he hid behind Yun Sangxue, but Yi Baiming was faster than him and grabbed him. Yi Baiming casually threw Tang Yu away and he rolled over like a rubber ball. Yun Xing laughed secretly. This sly fox was addicted to throwing things around. You bitch, what do you want her to do? When Yun Sangxue saw Yun Xing, she was filled with anger. Now that she saw that Yun Xing wanted to make an example of her precious son, she immediately cursed like a shrew in the streets. She was furious and wanted to go forward and argue with Yun Xing. Tang Yu could not speak, so he could only gesture with his hands. What a joke. Lu Hao wanted to chop him into pieces immediately. What kind of ending would he have if he fell into his hands? Either let him cooperate with the simulation or let the Wolf Fang Hunting Corps take care of him. Your choice. Yun Xing replied indifferently. This pair of mother and son were really incorrigible. They did not even think about who she was doing all this for. Sangxue, a little impatience spoils great plans. Yun Ba spoke. Yun Sangxue looked around again, thinking that since her father was here, that hunter would not really do anything to you. She could only retreat. Tang Yu walked over with trepidation under the angry gazes of countless people. Uncle Yun, please prepare another rope. Remember to make it thicker and sturdier. Your little young master's neck is a few sizes thicker than an average person's. Yun Sheng's words scared Tang Yu so much that he could not even breathe. Yi Baiming coughed softly, while Zhou Quan was trying so hard to hold back his laughter that he was about to suffer internal injuries. The rope was quickly brought over. Yun Sheng handed the rope to Lu Hao. Brother Lu, please use this rope to try to strangle Tang Yu's neck. Don't use too much force and leave him with a breath. Yun Sangshua's face paled when she heard this. Tang Yu was so frightened that his entire body trembled non-stop. Don't worry, I will be very careful. Lu Hao's eyes were filled with murderous intent. He tugged at the rope in his hand and walked behind Tang Yu. Yun Ba frowned, but when he saw Yun Sheng's relaxed expression, he could not help but sigh in his heart. He turned his head away, not wanting to see Tang Yu being tortured. Tang Yu was so frightened that he wanted to run away, but how could he be Lu Hao's opponent? The latter held down his hands and pulled the rope back. The rope, which was as thick as a thumb, was stuck around Tang Yu's neck. He instantly felt a lump in his throat as he struggled with all his limbs. Although he was fat, his strength was no match for the martial honor level Lu Hao. The latter hated Tang Yu to the bone, but he still remembered Yun Sheng's earlier words and left him with a breath. That's enough, you. My poor you. Yun Sangshua broke free from the attendant beside her and pounced forward. Only then did Lu Hao release his grip. Tang Yu's eyes had already rolled back into his head and his legs were twitching. He looked like he was sick and was breathing in less than he was exhaling. Yin Sheng. You venomous woman, do you want to torture our Yu to death? He's already fainted. What else do you want him to do? Yun Sangshua saw her son, Tang Yu, on the verge of death and hugged him as she sobbed. However, no one around them showed any sympathy for them. Chapter 363. Everyone in Jade Capital knew that the reason why Tang Yu had ended up like this was all because of Yun Sangshua's pampering. Smashing, robbing women from good families. This time, even if he could wash away the crime of causing Xin Yu's death, Tang Yu's reputation in the Jade Capital would also be tarnished. He would definitely become a street rat and be cursed by everyone. Yun Ba looked at his daughter and grandson without saying a word. His heart was filled with mixed feelings and he didn't know what to feel. He never thought that one day the person who would teach his family a lesson would be his own granddaughter. However, what Yun Sheng had to do was far from over. He fainted just like that? It's alright, I'll give him a needle. I guarantee that he will wake up immediately. Yun Sheng put on a fake smile and was about to pull out the needle. The people from the Wolf Fang Hunting Corps saw this and instantly felt a chill down their spines. There was only one thought in their mind. They could offend anyone but Yen Yun from the Heaven Expedition Hunting Corps. This method would cause a layer of skin to be peeled off on anyone. How dare you? Yun Sangshua almost vomited blood from anger. Tang Yu, who was pretending to be unconscious in her arms, also trembled. I'm only halfway through the simulation. The part of being strangled to death is considered over. As for the part of hanging himself, I still have to find someone to test it out. Tang Yu is the main culprit. If he doesn't try to make up for his mistake and hang himself once for me to compare, then what can I use to prove Tang Yu's innocence? Yun Sheng pointed at the ancient banyan tree calmly. He still had to hang himself once. With his weight, if he really hanged himself once, he would really commit suicide if he failed to save him. Tang Yu couldn't catch his breath. His head tilted and this time he really fainted. You are so vicious. I'll do as you wish. I'll hang myself in place of my Yu. Yun Sangshua finally understood that this vicious girl still held a grudge against him and his mother for chasing her out of the Yun residence 2 years ago. She was filled with regret. If she knew that this girl would be so capable today, she wouldn't have given up halfway. She would have found an assassin to kill this bitch directly. Yun Sangshua put down Tang Yu, grabbed the rope, and walked towards the ancient banyan tree. At this moment, she really hoped that her father or second brother would speak up and stop her. However, behind her, there was only silence. No one made a sound. Yun Songlong turned his head away. Yun Ba's eyes darkened and he was about to say something. On the other side, Yun Sheng said indifferently, "That's good too. Madam's figure is very similar to Miss Yen Yu's. The effect of the simulated hanging is also very similar." When Yun Ba heard this, he looked at the corpse lying not far away. In the end, he couldn't say anything and lowered his eyes. Yun Sangshua had already walked under the ancient banyan tree. Yun Sheng added, "Let me remind you one more time. In order to make the effect more realistic, you must not use your duki to try to break free from the rope. When it's about time, I will remind you to come down." Yun Sangshue's silver teeth were almost crushed in her mouth. She threw the rope onto the banyan tree and hatefully said in her heart, Yun Sheng I Yun Sangshue, and you are irreconcilable. Yun Sangshue was indeed true to her words. During the entire process of her hanging, she was definitely the best substitute Yun Sheng had ever seen. That rope had almost strangled her to death. Until Yun Sheng leisurely called out, You can come down now. Only then did Yun Ba hurriedly order Uncle Yun to save Yun Sangshue. It's already been strangled and hung. You better have a sufficient reason to clear Yuer's name. Otherwise. Although Yun Sheng's actions were to help Tang Yu, there was also a hidden intention to teach the mother and son pair a lesson. How could Yun Ba not know? In front of so many people, Yun Sheng completely disregarded the general's estate's reputation. This made Yun Ba very unhappy. Old general, don't worry. You will be satisfied with the outcome. Yun Sheng kicked Tang Yu awake and let the mother and son pair stand together. You should have seen it. One hanged herself and the other was strangled to death. Regardless of the shape or the scar, the two people's wounds are completely different. It is clear at a glance which kind of wound Miss Yen Yu has. After Yun Sheng finished speaking, everyone present looked towards the necks of the two people and the corpse. Previously, everyone didn't understand Yun Sheng's meaning. Now that they heard it, everyone uniformly looked over. They saw that Tang Yu's short neck, which was almost connected to her body, had a red circle. Fortunately, Lu Hao didn't really have the intention to kill. Otherwise, Tang Yu's fat pig head would have been directly chopped off. Yun Sangshue's neck. The scar on her neck was concentrated in a certain area near the chin. Looking at Xian Yu's corpse, it was very obvious that her wound was closer to Tang Yu's. The scar was a circle. After a moment of silence, everyone started to discuss spiritedly. Cheng Sihai's face was ugly while Qi Fangfei's expression became more and more serious. The theory of the autopsy that Yun Sheng mentioned was never mentioned by anyone in the Medicine Emperor Pavilion. Cheng Sihai didn't notice it at all when he was doing the autopsy. My poor child, who was so heartless to harm you. Xian Yu's parents cried together. Cheng Sihai rolled his eyes at the side and a vicious plan came to his mind. Needless to say, Miss Xian Yu was living well and suddenly died. Wasn't it because she was humiliated by Tang Yu? The Yun residents must have killed Miss Xian Yu in order to silence her and then made it look like she committed suicide. The three people from the Wolf Fang Hunting Corps and Xian Yu's parents who originally believed that Xian Yu was killed felt that it made sense. Cheng Sihai, you're really shameless to the extreme. You're obviously the one who made a mistake in the autopsy and now you're making false accusations in order to save your face. Is this the medical ethics of the Medicine Emperor Pavilion? Yun Sheng snorted. She originally wanted to clarify that Xian Yu committed suicide and let the matter rest. But after being provoked by Cheng Sihai, she knew that if they didn't find the culprit today, the matter of the Yun residents would never end. Yen Yun, your analysis just now is very reasonable. But if you can't prove that Tang Yu is innocent, Xian Yu's death will still be related to the Yun residents. We won't let this matter rest. Song Lang admired Yun Sheng's special autopsy skills. But he couldn't just rely on this to make Lu Hao give up on revenge. Lu Hao nodded his head and gazed at the dead Xian Yu with deep affection. Yun Sheng couldn't help but sigh. Since she had already offended someone today, she might as well be the villain to the end. Lu Hao, let me ask you, no matter who the culprit is, will you still be infatuated with Xian Yu? Lu Hao didn't hesitate at all. Of course, Xian Yu and I are childhood sweethearts. My infatuation with her will never change no matter what. Then I'll ask you one more time. Have you and Xian Yu ever done anything between a man and a woman? Once Yun Sheng said those words, Lu Hao's face instantly turned red. Even the faces of the other people beside him all turned crimson red. On the other hand, Yun Sheng's face was calm and her expression was very solemn. Chapter 364. This, Vice Commander Yen, why are you suddenly asking about this? Xian Yu and I haven't gotten married yet and I'm always away from home. I promise that I'll only marry her when I come back next year. We're innocent, Lu Hao said with difficulty. The identity of the suspect is very clear. He is the father of the baby in Miss Xian Yu's womb. Yun Sheng's words shocked Lu Hao. Xian Yu's father and mother's expressions changed drastically. Cheng Sihai was tongue-tied and Qi Fangfei was also shocked. On the other hand, a knowing smile appeared on Yi Baiming's lips as he nodded approvingly at Yun Sheng. You evil woman, how dare you tarnish my daughter's reputation? When Xian Yu's mother heard this, her vision turned black and she fainted. Xian Yu's father, on the other hand, was furious. He stepped forward and wanted to fight Yun Sheng to the death. Lu Hao's face darkened and his voice turned cold. Vice Commander Yen, if you can't give me a reason, I will fight you to the death even if my skills are not as good as yours. I'm not talking nonsense. When I was examining Xinyu, I noticed that her abdomen was slightly protruding. I pressed it with my fingers and it did not sink. Look at Miss Xinyu's body, her limbs are very slender. Yun Sheng was very observant. The commoners of the Great Zhou dynasty, because of the influence of the Great Zhou dynasty's martial arts, even the women who did not practice martial arts liked to wear a modified version of the narrow-sleeved, narrow-waisted dress. But when Xinyu was buried in the coffin, she wore a wide-sleeved dress without a girdle. Because of this, ordinary people would not notice that her abdomen was different. How can clothing prove that she is pregnant? There are many women on the streets who like to wear wide-sleeved dresses. Could it be that they are also pregnant? Qi Fangfei raised her eyebrows slightly. She was critical of Yun Sheng's words. As long as we cut open the abdomen and take out the child, the truth will be revealed. Miss Xinyu's fetus already has bones and flesh. It will be at least 4 months. Yun Sheng's words came true. Cut open the abdomen to retrieve the baby. The moment Yun Sheng's words came out, even Yun Songlong, Yi Baiming and the others' expressions couldn't help but change. Performing a second autopsy on a dead person was already a big deal. Yun Sheng wanted to cut open the abdomen to retrieve the child. Such an act was simply shocking in the boundless continent. Ridiculous. Are you a doctor or not? I've never heard of dissecting a corpse to take out the baby. You don't deserve to be a doctor at all. Cheng Sihai finally got hold of Yun Sheng's weakness and jumped up to mock her. Cheng Sihai, as a doctor you can't even tell if a person is pregnant or not. You're the one who really doesn't know how to treat people. Yun Sheng also knew that once she spoke about this matter, it would inevitably lead to criticism. In this era, insulting a corpse was punishable by death. That was why she didn't want to mention that Xianyu was pregnant with Lu Jia. Yes, we definitely can't let her disgrace my daughter's corpse. Xianyu's mother couldn't stop crying. Shut up, all of you, shut up. Lu Hao was like an angry lion. Under his loud roar, the originally noisy crowd quietened down. Yin Yun, I'll ask you one more time. Are you sure that Xianyu is pregnant? If Yun Sheng's words were true, and Xianyu hadn't been insulted by Tang Yu 4 months ago, and the child in her stomach wasn't his, then the adulterer was indeed the biggest suspect. Although dissecting a corpse to retrieve the child was shocking and unacceptable, if it wasn't dissected, the person who killed Xianyu would very likely get away scot-free. Uncle, Auntie. Lu Hao walked in front of the 2 grief-stricken elders and knelt down. Lu Hao is useless and didn't care about Xianyu. I promise you that if Xianyu isn't pregnant today, I, Lu Hao, am willing to marry her and worship her as my wife for 100 years. If Xianyu is pregnant, Lu Hao is also willing to take her as my god-sister and worship her as a family member on Qingming and Double Yang in the coming year. After he finished speaking, he kowtowed 3 times to the 2 elders. Lu Hao's actions made the 2 elders' eyes wet. In the end, the 2 elders finally nodded in agreement. Both of you, I also agree. If my judgment this time is wrong and I've disgraced Miss Xianyu's name, I'm willing to accept Zhou State's punishment and never be a doctor again. Yun Sheng also spoke. When Cheng Sihai heard this, he was even more bewildered. In reality, he really couldn't tell whether Xianyu was pregnant or not. When he examined her body just now, he was completely relying on his hands and eyes to observe. Cheng Sihai didn't know that not to mention him, even if when De Guo personally came to the scene, he couldn't be sure that he could determine whether Xianyu was pregnant or not. This was because the living were different from the dead. Even if the dead had the protection of a magic array that prevented the surface from rotting, their internal organs and skin would have a certain degree of change. Moreover, the doctors in the boundless continent, especially those in the Medicine Emperor Pavilion, mostly focused on the research of elixirs. As for the structure of the human body, they only stopped at the most superficial observation, listening, questioning, and feeling the pulse, which was the traditional Chinese medicine diagnosis method. However, Yun Sheng was different. She had learned Western medicine and also had the Shenong Eye and Trillium Hand. Ordinary doctors in the boundless continent couldn't be compared to her. Although her Shenong Eye hadn't reached the 3rd level and reached the stage where she could see the internal organs of a person, she could observe the most minute parts that others couldn't notice. The touch of her hands was also 10 times sharper than that of ordinary people. What others couldn't confirm, she could rely on the combination of her eyes and hands to accurately determine. But Yun Sheng suddenly changed the topic. If what I said just now was all true, then shouldn't great Dr. Cheng, who insulted me just now, also be held accountable? You made a mistake in the autopsy and then insulted other doctors. With such moral conduct, how can you still be a doctor? Cheng Sihai was speechless. However, the words that had been said were like water that couldn't be taken back. At this moment he could only pray that Qi Fangfei could protect him. Qi Fangfei's expression sank when she saw Yunxing's provocative stare. She spat out a sentence. If your words are proven to be true, my medicine Emperor Pavilion will naturally punish Cheng Sihai. We'll make him hand over his physician token and never allow him to practice medicine again. What a cunning little girl. Just now she had said those harsh words in front of everyone. It turned out that she was just trying to force her to make the same promise. Qi Fangfei felt like she was being led by the nose. From the autopsy to the simulation, and then to persuading Xian Yu's parents, the whole process seemed to be forced. However, that little girl had a sense of propriety and had a well-thought-out look. Qi Fangfei's status in the Medicine Emperor Pavilion was extraordinary. It had always been others who listened to her, but today it was the other way around. This made her very angry, but she couldn't vent her anger on Yun Sheng. Yun Sheng's eyes flashed and she took out her scalpel. When they saw Yun Sheng's special tool, the people around didn't show much surprise. However, Cheng Sihai and Qi Fangfei had never seen such a tool before. The sharp edge of the scalpel sliced across Xian Yu's pale belly. Xian Yu's parents choked and turned their heads away. When Tang Yu saw the bloody mess, he only felt disgusted. He leaned against the wall and vomited. When Yun Ba saw his grandson's cowardly appearance, his expression became even worse. Chapter 365. However, Yun Sangxue stared at Yun Sheng, watching her every movement that was as smooth as flowing water. Cutting open the abdomen to remove the child should have been a very bloody scene, but when Yun Sheng did it, it did not make people feel nauseous. Every cut of her knife was just right, as if she was cutting a piece of high-quality silk cloth. It's out. Zhou Quan did not avoid it and was about to move forward, but was stopped by Yun Songlong. Yun Sheng didn't even frown as she carried out a lump of flesh from inside. Although the facial features were not clearly formed, it was indeed the corpse of a baby. My poor daughter. Xian Yu's mother hugged Xian Yu's father and wailed. Lu Hao closed his eyes in pain, but the people of the Yun residence all heaved a sigh of relief. Cheng Sihai sat on the ground dejectedly, and there was only coldness left on Qi Fangfei's face. Little Xiai entong Yun Sheng. This time they won again. Yun Sheng carefully placed the fetus beside Xian Yu, then rearranged Xian Yu's corpse. After stitching her up, Yun Sheng looked at the serene Xian Yu and said softly, "Don't worry, I will definitely find the murderer." The two leaders of the Wolf Fang hunting corps were embarrassed. They did not expect that the whole incident would cause such a stir in the city, and they almost broke off relations with the Yun residents. Who knew that the truth would turn out like this? Leader Tsang Lang patted Lu Hao's shoulder and walked forward with an apologetic smile on his face. "I'm sorry we were rash in this matter. I represent the Wolf Fang hunting corps to apologize to the Yun residents. A few days ago, we will also compensate the Yun residents for the losses we caused." "What's the use of compensating? Can my reputation be restored?" Yun Sangxue and Tang Yu heaved a sigh of relief. Yun Sangxue immediately changed her attitude and scolded the hunters and Xian Yu's family. "Enough, third sister. If that brat Tang Yu didn't make any mistakes, how could he be framed? Also, he has violated the laws of Zhou State by insulting a woman. Even if he wasn't the one who killed Miss Xian Yu, he still has to go to the military to receive his punishment." Although Yun Songlong was relieved, he was also very angry at the same time. Yun Sangxue still didn't know how to repent. This time, if not for Xing'er, the Yun residents would not have been able to explain themselves even if they had 1,000 mouths. What's more, even if this matter was resolved, there was still no way to resolve the matter of the Bloody Hand Tycoon coming to their door in a few days. Furthermore, this incident had placed the residents of Yun at the forefront of public opinion in the Jade capital. Those people in the imperial court with ill intentions were still waiting for the residents of Yun's weakness. If they wanted to protect the residents of Yun, they still had to hand over Tang Yu and handle the matter according to Zhou State's laws. Only then could they appease the public. "Second uncle? You want to send me to be tortured?" Tang Yu squeaked a few words and realized that he could actually speak after being choked just now. He had just been cleared of the crime of murder, but he was still going to be sent to be tortured. When the kid heard this, he immediately sat on the ground and started crying like a child. "Tang Yu, you have truly disappointed me." Yun Ba watched the farce between the mother and son and felt a surge of anger in his heart. Only now did he realize that what Yun Songlong and Yun Sheng had said earlier was completely correct. If Tang Yu continued to act lawlessly, the residents of Yun would sooner or later be in trouble. He hardened his heart and said firmly, "Uncle Yun, immediately send the little young master to the military to receive his punishment. Yun Sangshua, this time if you dare to obstruct me again, I will chase both you and your son out of the residence of Yun." Chase them out of the residence of Yun. Tang Yu, who had been acting shamelessly on the ground, was silent. Yun Sangshua's face was deathly pale, without a trace of blood. Yun Ba was truly enraged this time. In the past, no matter how big of a mess Tang Yu had made, no matter how many tricks Yun Sangshua had pulled behind his back, Yun Ba had never said a word. He had not done that because he was muddle-headed and did not understand. On the contrary, the reason why the residents of Yun had been able to stand tall all these years was because of Yun Ba. He did not seem to care about the affairs of the residents, but through Uncle Yun, he was still very clear about the affairs of the residents. The departure of his eldest son Yun Songhai had a huge impact on Yun Ba. He only wanted to support the residents of Yun so that this family would not fall apart. This was also why he had tolerated them in every possible way. As long as Yun Sangshua and Tang Yu did not surpass him, he could pretend not to know. But this time the mother and son had really gone too far. They had provoked the Bloody Hand Tycoon, insulted a commoner's daughter, and almost caused the foundation of the residents of Yun to be destroyed overnight. Yun Sheng's reprimand seemed to be reprimanding Yun Sangshua and her son, but in reality, it was also a reminder to him. Third sister, don't force yourself into a dead end. When Yun Songlong saw Yun Sangshua, who seemed to have lost her soul, he ordered people to tie up the frightened Tang Yu and send her to the military. Yun Sangshua was a smart person. Otherwise, she would not have been able to manage the residents of Yun so well in the past few years. She had been lawless in the past because she knew that her second brother did not like to fight for power and she had her own father's love. But if Yun Ba chased her out of the residence of Yun, then everything would be over. After leaving the residence of Yun, she was just a female cultivator in her 30s. She also had a spoiled son. Without the protection of her adorable son, she had nothing. Yun Sangshua walked into the residence of Yun woodenly. Yun Songlong sighed and asked Uncle Yun to tidy up the mess outside the residence. Yun Ba looked at Yun Sheng and could not say anything in the end. He sighed deeply and turned to walk into the residence. Xian Yu's family had already moved the coffin and everything else away. After Lu Hao comforted Xian Yu's parents, he asked a few more questions before walking over. "Deputy Commander Yin, thank you for your righteousness. I have already asked and Xian Yu's younger sister, Xian Pei, said that she has something to tell us." Lu Hao waved at a woman dressed in white linen clothes not far away. The woman was only about 12 or 13 years old and looked very young. However, her appearance was 70 to 80% similar to the already dead Xian Yu. It was just that her features were more delicate and straightforward than Xian Yu's. When she saw Lu Hao waving at her, she blushed slightly but still walked over and awkwardly greeted them. "I roughly know that big sister has someone else outside. Father and mother don't know." Xian Pei had not thought of that before. It was only when Yun Xing said that her sister was pregnant that she remembered that her sister seemed to have met a man some time ago. Big sister often went out secretly without telling father and mother. Because it was late at night, no one in the family knew. Xian Pei had also advised her sister that she was already engaged and should not be like this. However, she was teased by Xian Yu. She did not understand the relationship between men and women. She said that Lu Hao was a boorish soldier who did not know how to cherish women. She said that she was only concerned about the engagement and did not like Lu Hao at all. When Lu Hao heard this, his expression turned ugly. For Xian Yu's death, he had done his best and even grieved for a long time. He did not expect that her heart was not with him at all. Chapter 366. In that case, have you met your sister's lover? Yun Xing asked again. There was once at night, because I was worried about my sister, I secretly tailed my sister. I followed her all the way to a lotus pond in the south of the city. Xian Pei followed her sister all the way to the lotus pond and heard her sister's joyful cries. She vaguely remembered that her sister called that man, Zheng Lang. Because she was afraid of being discovered by her sister, she didn't dare to get close. From afar, she could only see that the man was wearing a red robe. Red robe? Does the style look like what we're wearing? Yun Xing suspected that the person who killed Xian Yu was most likely a warrior or a magician. Unfortunately, after Xian Pei looked at everyone's clothes, she shook her head. She tilted her head and thought for a while. I didn't see that person's face clearly, but I saw that person's clothes very clearly. Because the style was very strange, it was like a lantern, covering the person from head to toe, only revealing the face. Xian Pei didn't know anything else after that. Yun Sheng and the rest couldn't help but feel disappointed when they heard this. Just a strange red robe couldn't prove anything, and they couldn't find the exact person. In that case, unless Xian Yu came back from the dead, there was no way to find the real culprit. Dr. Yun. Just as they were speaking, Qi Fangfei walked over. After the autopsy, Cheng Sihai left dejectedly, but Qi Fangfei stayed behind. She waited for a moment at the side before walking over. Medicine Man Qi, are you here to fulfill our agreement? Yun Sheng had some impression of Qi Fangfei, remembering that she was Wendagua's medicine man. But from the tone of her conversation with Cheng Sihai, it seemed that she wasn't as simple as an ordinary medicine man. This is Cheng Sihai's physician token. From today onwards, he is no longer a physician of the Medicine Emperor Pavilion, and can no longer practice medicine as a physician. Today, in the name of the Medicine Sovereign Pavilion, I'll give you the physician token. Qi Fangfei was indeed true to her words. In her hand was the physician token that Cheng Sihai had spent tens of years to win. It was the physician token of the Four Directions Scattered Doctor. The doctor's card of the Four Directions Doctor was no small matter. It meant that the doctor who held the card could not only practice medicine within the country, but could also legally practice medicine in other countries. Due to the noble status of doctors, especially those above the level of Dr. Ling, they were highly sought after in various countries. The Four Directions Scattered Doctor's plate was equivalent to a pass through the entire continent. No matter which country they passed through, they could waive the toll fee. When a doctor opened a medical clinic, he or she could also reduce part of the country's taxes. Yun Xing naturally wouldn't refuse such a good thing. Then I'll have to thank Medicine Man Qi. Yun Sheng took the doctor's card from Medicine Man Qi's hand. Dr. Yun, I would like to invite you to join the Medicine Sovereign Pavilion in the Jade Capital. As long as you join the Medicine Sovereign Pavilion, we can cooperate with the Little Xiantong and remove all the previous obstacles. Qi Fangfei also had some means. She first gave the physician token and then sent an invitation to Yun Sheng. She was very clear about the current situation of the Little Xiantong. Due to the blockade of the Medicine Sovereign Pavilion, the Little Xiantong had been relying on the potions to maintain their daily expenses. The last time was an invitation from Medicine Rome. This time it was an invitation from Qi Fangfei. In the past, the Medicine Sovereign Pavilion had sent an invitation to Yun Xing one after another. Moreover, this time, Qi Fangfei's invitation was even more tempting. She didn't even care about the conflict between the Little Xiantong and the Medicine Sovereign Pavilion. If it was someone else, they wouldn't dare to refuse the Medicine Sovereign Pavilion, the #1 medical clinic in the continent. However, they threw it to the wrong person. It was fine if Qi Fangfei didn't mention it. Once she mentioned it, Yun Xing remembered what the Medicine Sovereign Pavilion did to the Little Xiantong. Yun Xing wasn't a magnanimous person. On the contrary, she was very vengeful. What Yun Sangxue and her son did to her, she returned it several times over. The Dark Crown Prince schemed against her, she also took revenge on him. Therefore, the Medicine Sovereign Pavilion oppressed her and humiliated Dr. Fan. Yun Sheng remembered it all. Qi Fangfei patiently waited for Yun Sheng's reply. This time, the Medicine Sovereign Pavilion lost the Doctor of the Four Directions. Qi Fangfei didn't feel much regret. Cheng Sihai made too many mistakes during this period of time. He was also one of the higher-ups of the Medicine Sovereign Pavilion. After he was stripped of his qualification as a doctor and left the Medicine Sovereign Pavilion, what awaited him was only a path of death. Qi Fangfei was very interested in Yun Xing's medical skills, as well as her calm mind. Earlier, she thought that Yun Xing was only a genius who was proficient in pill concoction. But today, she realized that this girl wasn't a person with no talent. If possible, she wanted to bring Yun Xing into the core of the Medicine Sovereign Pavilion. However, there was a prerequisite. Yun Xing had to be a member of the Medicine Sovereign Pavilion. I'm sorry, I'm not interested in the Medicine Sovereign Pavilion. Yun Xing smiled. The two dimples at the corner of her lips were incomparably vivid. However, the gaze she used to look at Qi Fangfei was ice-cold. It doesn't matter. If Dr. Yun changes your mind one day, the Medicine Sovereign Pavilion will still welcome you. However, Fangfei also kindly reminded you that you shouldn't be too ruthless. No matter how heaven-defying your medical skills are, it's impossible for you to stand against the Medicine Sovereign Pavilion alone. There will be a day where you will come and beg us for help. Qi Fangfei's upbringing was also very good. She didn't get angry and instead smiled. After nodding to Yun Songlong and the others, she drifted away. Don't bother about them. The Medicine Sovereign Pavilion is used to being arrogant in the Jade Capital. They always think that all the medical halls in the world are under their control. With young Master Yun's medical skills, why would you need to beg them? After witnessing Yun Xing's actions just now, Zhou Quan was full of admiration for his vice-captain. Young Master Yun was simply too godly. However, Yun Xing felt that her heart was heavy. The matter of the Yun residence had come to an end. However, she didn't feel relaxed at all. Instead, she had a bad premonition as if something bad was about to happen. After Tang Yu was sent to the law department, news came quickly. According to Zhou State's laws, he was punished and sent to the Gobi Desert in the west for 3 years. This kind of punishment wasn't considered light or heavy. After the punishment was announced, Tang Yu was immediately sent to the northwest. When Yun Sangxue received the news, she had already left the Jade Capital. To Yun Sangxue of the Yun residence, this was a heavy punishment. She couldn't sleep the entire night and couldn't stop crying. That night, Yun Sangshue's maid sent food as usual. When the food was sent in, a vase was smashed. The vase fell to the ground and shattered. The maid was so frightened that she trembled. She begged for mercy. "Third miss, please calm down. You haven't eaten for a few days. If this goes on, I'm afraid your body won't be able to take it. Old master has instructed us to let third miss eat some." Chapter 367. Scram. All of you scram. I don't need your hypocrisy. What master? You said it for my own good, but didn't you all want to kill me and you, Now all of you have nothing to worry about. Ur has been exiled. How can my poor Ur endure the bitter cold in the west? Yun Sangxue clutched her chest as she smashed and cursed in the room. The things in her room had already been changed twice. Yun Ba had to listen to her curses every day, so he simply moved to another courtyard under Uncle Yun's persuasion and wasn't in the residence these days. Yun Sangxue became even angrier when she saw that her father was avoiding her. She thought back to when she was still unmarried. Her father doted on her and her 2 elder brothers obeyed her every word. However, ever since she married and gave birth to Tang Yu and her husband unfortunately died in battle, she didn't have a single good day. She also didn't want to marry again. She spent all her thoughts on her only son, Tang Yu. His domineering and cowardice were all good in her eyes. Third miss. The servant girl's voice was shut outside the door. Yun Sangshue's eyes were red with anger. She said fiercely, "Every one of you wants to drive us mother and son to death. I won't let you have your way. What do you mean by letting you, learn a lesson? It'll be good for him. If it's really good, why don't you let that wretched girl surnamed Yun go? In the end, isn't it because our Ur's surname isn't Yun? That wretched girl surnamed Yun has the same thoughts as her wretched mother. They're both very cunning. They keep saying that they don't want to acknowledge their ancestors, but in reality, they want nothing more than to take over the entire Yun residence." Yun Sangxue rambled on and on. Unknowingly, the servant girl outside also quieted down. She only cared about cursing and even forgot to light the oil lamp in the room. She was tired from cursing and remembered that she hadn't eaten or drunk anything in the past few days. Her body felt weak. She was about to call for someone when she suddenly heard a soft laughter in the darkness. The laughter was very light and short, disappearing in a flash. Hearing it in the dark night, one couldn't help but feel their hair stand on end. Yun Sangxue wasn't a coward. She boldly asked, "Who dares to barge into the general's residence? If you continue to act mysterious, don't blame me for being impolite." Aha, the third young lady of the Yun family is indeed as the rumors say. Women are not inferior to men. It's a pity that you were born a girl and were born in a place like the general's residence where men are respected. Otherwise, with your talent, how would you end up in this situation where your husband is dead and your children are scattered? As he spoke, the oil lamp in the room suddenly lit up and a mysterious man dressed in red robes sat by the table. Yun Sangxue could not help being alert. Her cultivation was not weak, she was also a martial saint. However, when this person came in, she did not sense anything at all. This person's cultivation was definitely much higher than his own. Yun Sangxue felt his palms break out in cold sweat as he nervously looked at the red-robed man. "Who are you? Why are you in my room in the middle of the night?" Yun Sangxue originally wanted to ask for help, but she remembered that Yun Ba and her second brother Yun Songlong were not here. Even if the other guards came, they might not be a match for this red-robed man. When she thought of this and recalled what that person had said earlier, she calmed down. "Third young lady Yun, you are so forgetful. You were the one who invited me here. Have you forgotten about the blood hand invitation? The red-robed man unhurriedly took out an invitation. When she saw the invitation, Yun Sangxue felt her scalp go numb. You are one of the blood hand tycoon's men? Yun Sangxue looked at the man's clothes and recalled some rumors about the blood hand tycoon on the mainland. She already understood that this man was one of the blood hand tycoon's men. In order to protect you, Yun Sangxue did not hesitate to find the blood hand tycoon, hoping to use them to attack the wolf fang hunting corps. However, she did not expect that Yun Sheng would appear midway. Now that the case had been solved and you had been exiled to the bitter cold lands in the west, why would the blood hand tycoon appear again? Yun Ba had also been on guard against the blood hand tycoon. After waiting for a few days, no one had come. In addition, the outside world already knew about Tang Yu's matter. The Yun residents thought that the blood hand tycoon had given up on this business deal. Who knew? Those who came did not come with good intentions. Yun Sangxue knew that the arrival of the blood hand tycoon tonight was definitely not a good thing. I am one of the blood hand tycoon's men. We have accepted the mission that third young lady Yun gave earlier. The other party took out a letter of authorization. No need. You should know that the person was not killed by my son. Since that is the case, there is no need for me to hire you to kill him. Yun Sangxue still remembered that Yun Sanglong had said that once the blood hand tycoon carried out a mission, the employer would have to pay a heavy price. Her position in the Yun residence was precarious. She definitely could not provoke the blood hand tycoon at this time. Once the blood hand tycoon has accepted a mission, it cannot be cancelled. You should know this rule. However, since the other party is third young lady Yun, I can give you some face. You can change your hunting mission. For example, let us take care of the exiled young master Tang. The red-robed man's words were like a sharp sword that accurately pierced Yun Sangshue's heart. Her brows twitched and she stood up agitatedly. What did you say? You can help me save you, or? Tang Yu's exile this time was a secret. Yun Ba had clearly told the military that no one was allowed to tell Yun Sangxue Tang Yu's exact whereabouts. Even if Yun Sangxue wanted to use some methods, she would not be able to find her son's exact whereabouts. She thought about how her son would have to do hard labor at the border for the next 3 years, living a life that was neither human nor ghost. She could not eat and could not sleep at night. There is no one in this world that our blood hand tycoon cannot find. I can guarantee that as long as third young lady Yun is willing, young master Tang Yu will have a comfortable life for the next 3 years. It will not be inferior to the days in Jade Capital. The red-robed man was very satisfied with Yun Sangshue's reaction. He could not help but secretly admire his young city lord. Yun Sangxue was somewhat moved. However, she was still somewhat hesitant. She did not know what the other party's intentions were, whether it was good or evil. After thinking for a moment, Yun Sangxue still decided to reject the other party's good intentions. Many thanks. However, we think that our should be able to survive the next 3 years. I think I will not take this deal. Yun Sangxue did not dare to take the risk. She was afraid that the other party would make a request that she could not fulfill. Oh, third young lady, have you thought it through? The West is not a good place. Magical beasts roam around there, and there are many poisonous plants and insects. There are also some people who like to bully the descendants of aristocratic families from the capital cities of Jade Capital. 3 years is neither long nor short. If a person disappears in the West in these 3 years, I'm afraid no one will know. The red-robed man seemed to have expected Yun Sangxue to reject him. He was not in a hurry and slowly spat out a few words. These words were like a heavy blow, causing Yun Sangshue's face to instantly turn pale. You are threatening me. Blood Hand Tycoon, you don't have to go too far. I, Yun Sangxue, am not afraid of anyone. You think that you can go against the Yun residents with just an assassin organization? Aren't you thinking too highly of yourself? Yun Sangxue was not someone who was easily threatened. She frowned and cursed loudly. Third young lady, don't be angry. You should take a look at the gift I brought. The red-robed man took out an item and placed it under the oil lamp. Under the oil lamp was a piece of cloth. Chapter 368. When Yun Sangxue saw that familiar piece of cloth, all the energy in her body seemed to have been sucked out. She snatched the cloth with trembling hands. It's yours clothes, it's yours clothes. What did you do to our Yun Sangxue was practically begging. Nothing much. Our men have been watching young Master Tang along the way. Don't worry, as long as third Miss Yun cooperates, we will definitely not go back on our word. 3 years later we will return you a fair and chubby young Master Tang. If you're lucky, Third Miss might even be able to carry a fair and chubby grandson, the red-robed man said in a low voice. Women, especially this kind of selfish woman, once they were caught, even a tigress would have to obey orders obediently. Yun Sangshue choked with sobs as she grabbed the cloth. What exactly do you want? It's very simple. A life for a life. We are only here to cooperate with 3rd Mississippi. We know that 3rd Miss's days in the Yun residence are not easy. Our master has always admired a heroine like 3rd Miss, so he wants to help 3rd Mississippi. After the red-robed man finished speaking, he took out a medicine bottle and placed it in front of Yun Sangshue. Yun Sangshue didn't reach out to take the medicine bottle. She stared at the bottle in fear as if it contained something that could eat people. What is the meaning of this medicine? 3rd Young Miss doesn't need to know what this medicine is. 3rd Young Miss only needs to add a little of this medicine to old General Yun's food every day. The red-clothed man's voice was very kind, but the things he said were very vicious. What? You want me to poison him? Poison my biological father? Yun Sangshue was so frightened that she took a few steps back. She didn't expect that this time she would really do as her second brother said. She actually lured this group of demons into the general's residence. 3rd Miss, you have to know that a son is much more important than an old man. In old General Yun's heart, you and young Master Tang's weight can't be compared to his biological granddaughter. If you continue to hesitate, by the time that female magician enters the Yun residence, there will be no place for you and young Master Tang. The red-robed man pushed the bottle forward. Besides, this medicine isn't meant to kill the old general. Otherwise, if the Medicine Emperor Pavilion investigates, you won't be able to escape. Don't worry, once this medicine enters a person's body, it won't leave any traces. Yun Sangshua's heart was constantly struggling. 3rd Miss, if I remember correctly back then, the Yun family's eldest young master and his wife had a falling out with old General Yun because of your snitch. In a fit of anger, they left the general's estate. If that little girl knows the whole story, how do you think she will treat you and your son? The red-robed man spoke again. Yun Sangshue felt her entire body turn cold. She was tongue-tied. She never thought that there would be a third person who knew about what happened back then. Who are you? How did he know about these things? Other than my father and I, there definitely won't be a third person who knows about what happened back then. Yun Sangshue's face was completely drained of blood. The Blood Hand Tycoon was too frightening. They were all pervasive. They even knew about the most secret of matters. No, she definitely couldn't let this secret leak out. Yun Sangshue unconsciously touched her neck. The mark left by the strangulation had already been healed by her with the best quality ointment. However, that suffocating feeling of being unable to live or die was still there. Every night, Yun Sangshue would recall the scene of her being forced by Yun Sheng. No one was around to help her as she walked step by step towards the ancient banyan tree. If that wretched girl knew the truth, she definitely wouldn't let her off. All right, I promise you. Yun Sangshue no longer struggled and took the bottle of medicine. 3rd Miss Yun is indeed a smart person. Don't worry, young Master Tang will definitely be safe in our hands. You only need to wait for old General Yun to return and add this medicine to his meals every day. The red-robed man left with a satisfied expression after achieving his goal. The door opened and the man disappeared like a ghost. The room was empty and Yun Sangshue felt an unprecedented fatigue. She held the bottle of medicine and said blankly, "You can't blame me. She forced me. If you didn't want to take away everything I have, why would I do this?" After a few days, Yun Ba returned to the residence. Everything in the residence was the same as before. Although the incident this time greatly affected the Yun residence's reputation, it also eliminated a group of people who were hiding in the Yun residence. There were fewer people in the residence, but correspondingly, it was also a lot quieter. Yun Ba called for Yun Sangshue's maidservant. "How is 3rd Miss? Is she still making noise these days?" Yun Sangshue's maidservant respectfully replied, "Reporting to Master, 3rd Miss was crying non-stop a few days ago and refused to eat. However, the day before yesterday she got up and stopped making noise. She even asked where Master went and said that he would immediately tell her when Master returned." That child Sangshue, why was she still unwilling to give up? Yun Ba couldn't help but frown. He had exiled Tang Yu this time so that he could train in the bitter cold of the western region. Although the western region was desolate, it was also the place where the trusted subordinates that Yun Ba had nurtured in his early years were stationed. Once there, those people would definitely not make things difficult for Tang Yu on account of the Yun residence's past kindness. Yun Ba had just entered the main hall when he saw his daughter Yun Sangshue walk over. "Father, you're finally back." Yun Sangxue had a smile on her face and looked like she had walked out of the shadow of the Tangyu incident. She even held a bowl of chicken soup in her hand. Daughter made some of father's favorite chicken soup. Come and try my cooking. Seeing Yun Sangshue's completely different attitude, Yunba couldn't help but be surprised. He had always understood his daughter's temper and Tangyu was her precious treasure. He had thought that she would make a fuss for at least a few months, but who would have thought that she would recover in just a few days? Father, why haven't you sat down yet? Are you still angry at Shui? Shui has also thought things through these past few days. It was all my fault in the past. I spoiled you, and allowed him to run amok and harm so many people. As Yun Sangxue spoke, she placed the bowl of soup in Yunba's hands. Yunba didn't notice that Yun Sangshue's fingers were trembling as she held the bowl of soup. A trace of fear flashed through her eyes. Shui, it's good that you've thought things through. Actually, I've always doted on you the most out of the three of you. Yu's incident can also be considered a lesson. You will be back in 3 years. When the time comes, I will get a job in the military for him. You can rest assured. Yunba saw that his daughter's attitude had changed for the better and then looked at the chicken soup that had been delivered. Yun Sangxue listened to Yunba's words and watched him deliver the chicken soup to his mouth. Her heart skipped a beat and she couldn't help but shout, "Father!" Yunba paused before continuing, "Also this time no matter what, that girl Yunxing also helped you greatly. You're not allowed to make things difficult for her in the future." Yunxing. Aha, it was Yunxing again. Chapter 369. Yun Sangxue smiled bitterly. Sure enough, her father's heart was still with his own granddaughter. Only Yunxing was a true descendant of the Yun family with the surname Yun. How could her Tangyu compare to that cheap girl with equally exquisite medical and magic skills? Right, Shui? Why did you call father just now? Yunba was puzzled. Nothing, I just wanted to remind you that the chicken soup is a little hot, so be careful. Yun Sangxue blankly watched Yunba drink the chicken soup. Shui, personally made chicken soup, the taste is really good. Yunba didn't doubt her words and praised. If father likes it, Shui will make it for you every day. Seeing that Yunba didn't show any signs of poisoning after drinking the chicken soup, Yun Sangxue rejoiced in her heart. After Tangyu's matter was resolved, Yunxing also breathed a sigh of relief. This time, the Sky Hunting Corps had made a meritorious contribution to the discovery of the purple gold lode, and because they had saved hundreds of villagers, after returning to the Jade capital, the Hunting Corps was promoted to a B-ranked Hunting Corps under the leadership of the Hunting Corps. Because of this, Yun Songlong was also very busy. Yunxing immediately began to reorganize the matters of the little Ci Entong. They didn't know that at this time, an even more terrible conspiracy was quietly engulfing the precarious Yun mansion. Yunxing had just returned to the little Ci Entong when she received the news from Lin Yao. Oh, you mean Big Brother Zhou sent the seeds of the medicinal herbs? Yunxing had been delayed in the northern region for a month. During this time, Zhou Qingchuan had returned to the headquarters of the Everlasting Chamber of Commerce. The matter of Zhou family's second uncle had also been resolved. Because of his great contribution, Zhou Qingchuan was promoted to succeed the position of Zhou family's second uncle and became the chief steward of the Everlasting Chamber of Commerce. What he was most grateful for was Yunxing's help on the way back, so after he took over the Chamber of Commerce, he immediately began to prepare the seeds of the medicinal herbs. The medicinal herbs selected by the Everlasting Chamber of Commerce were of good quality and the price was also very reasonable. Yunxing counted and found that there were close to 1,000 kinds of herbs. Among them, 30% were common-grade herbs, the remaining 60% were rare-grade herbs, and there was even 10% saint-grade herbs. Only the Everlasting Trading Firm would be able to take out such high-quality seeds at once. Even the Medicine Emperor Pavilion would find it difficult to gather them all at once. Because of this, Yunxing had specially written a letter to thank Zhou Qingchuan. In addition, she had also given Zhou Qingchuan a precious sage herb million golden pill. Master, why did you buy so many herb seeds at once? What we lack are herbs, not seeds. Lin Yao, still didn't know what Yunxing's intentions were. Yunxing had been busy earlier, so she hadn't had the chance to tell Lin Yao about this. I've thought about it. If we want to break free from the control of the Medicine Emperor Pavilion, the best way is to find a stable and high-quality medicinal herb supplier. On the continent, the best supplier of medicinal herbs that isn't directly related to the Medicine Emperor Pavilion are only medicinal farmers. Yunxing told Lin Yao about what Zhou Qingchuan had told her earlier about setting up an independent medicinal farm. This idea is too crazy, but it seems to work. I have been in contact with some medicine farmers before. Most of them are very simple. Lin Yao had followed Yun Sheng for more than half a year, but from time to time she was shocked by her master's shocking way of thinking. But wouldn't it take too long to support a village and specialize in growing medicinal herbs? How much money do we need to invest? If the little Ci Entong can't provide us with pills and medicinal herbs, I'm afraid it will soon close down. During this period of time when Yunxing was away, the medical hall only sold magic potions. Thanks to GMO, the magic potions he refined were sold to some magicians. This was how the medical hall was barely able to maintain its livelihood. However, Zhou State was, after all, a country of martial artists. Martial artists were willing to use magic potions, so only selling magic potions wasn't a long-term solution. It's fine. Others need a year to grow medicine, but we only need half a year or even less. Yun Sheng blinked her eyes. I've already asked around. There's a village on a mountain not far from the Jade capital. I'll take you there tomorrow. Alright, call GMO over. The next day Yun Sheng woke up early. She hired a carriage and selected some medicinal herb seeds suitable for growing in the vicinity of the Jade capital. Then she called Lin Yao and GMO and set off together. Sitting in the carriage, Yun Sheng saw that GMO was sitting upright and still, not saying a word. This GMO was really a good employee. She had already heard from Lin Yao that during her absence for more than a month, GMO got up early and went to bed late every day, refining magic potions, taking care of the medical hall's medicinal field. There were even a few times when GMO helped her father, Yun Songhai, take care of the magic array. This kid was good at everything, but his skin was thin. It was said that when he saw a female guest, his face would blush for a long time. According to Lin Yao's incomplete statistics, GMO spoke no more than 5 fingers a day. If it weren't for the words she said when she hired him, Yun Sheng would have suspected that this kid was a mute. GMO, thank you for this period of time. Dr. Fan doesn't understand magic potions, but thanks to you, the medical hall can continue to support itself. Yun Sheng sincerely thanked him. It's what I should do. I was invited by Miracle Dr. Yun. Moreover, I wasn't the only one who did the work. The ancient magicians also came to help. GMO's expression remained unchanged. In front of Yun Sheng he was neither servile nor overbearing. Heaven knew that the more he was like this, the more interested Yun Sheng was in talking to him. She wanted to see if he could break the record of talking in a day. GMO, do you know why I went to the village this time? When Yun Sheng brought GMO along, she simply said that she wanted to take a look at the village. She didn't explain her specific intentions. Miracle Dr. Yun is going to look for medicinal herbs, right? GMO actually didn't quite understand why Yun Sheng wanted to go to such a remote mountain village to look for medicinal herbs. The carriage had already traveled for dozens of li. The mountain road was getting steeper and steeper, and the carriage was shaking violently. The surrounding scenery was also getting more and more desolate. GMO remembered that there shouldn't be any villages in the vicinity that were rich in medicinal herbs. You're right. We're here to look for medicinal herbs. To be more precise, we're here to look for a place where we can grow medicinal herbs. As Yun Sheng spoke, the carriage had already turned into a difficult mountain path. Guest, the road ahead is not easy to walk on. The carriage can only go up to here. The coachman poked his head in. The carriage stopped at the foot of a mountain that was more than 1,000 meters above sea level. In front of them, there was only a mountain road that could only accommodate 2 people walking side by side. Other than animals like mules, the carriage really couldn't go up. It's not a problem. Uncle, take this money and stay at the foot of the mountain for the night. Come back tomorrow afternoon to pick us up. After Yun Sheng finished speaking, she lightly floated and was already on the mountain road. GMO also got off the carriage. He saw that on the mountain road, Yun Sheng was wearing an emerald green dress. Her facial features were picturesque. She was looking at the village on the mountain with a faint smile on her face. She was very suitable to wear green. GMO seemed to be attracted by Yun Sheng's expression. After not seeing her for a month, she had become stronger again. Chapter 370. You two get ready. We still have a stretch of the mountain path to walk. It will be much easier to use magic along the way. Yun Sheng had already started moving. She had the protection of the wind spirit, so it was very easy for her to use wind magic. As she walked, her speed was much faster than the average warrior. On the other hand, GMO was walking at a steady pace while Lin Yao lagged behind. Yun Sheng had no choice but to support her with the levitation spell. It took half an hour for the 3 of them to reach the middle of the mountain. As a magician your stamina is pretty good. Yunsheng looked at GMO and saw that he was calm and did not show any signs of fatigue. Lin Yao took the meditation water from Yunsheng and drank it in one gulp. Only then did she feel that the magic elements in her body had recovered a little. I'm from the mountains. When I was young I often walked the mountain paths and practiced. GMO said vaguely. However, Yunsheng gave him the middle finger in her heart. Pretending, still pretending. How could there be such an otherworldly mountain person whose words and actions were comparable to that of a noble? When Gufeng told her that there was a very faint light magic element in Jimo's body, she had suspected that Jimo's identity was not simple. Yunsheng was meticulous. She kept chatting with GMO along the way so that she could get some clues from his words. However, GMO was also very cautious. He did not speak much, but he answered all her questions. Along the way Yunsheng did not find any flaws in his answers. However, she was certain that GMO's identity was not simple. As soon as GMO finished speaking, his gaze turned towards the mountain village, and his expression changed slightly. Yunsheng also turned around. When she saw the situation in the mountain village, Lin Yao could not help but exclaim, "Ah, why is this place so poor?" The village that Yunsheng and the rest arrived at was located on a 1,000-meter-high mountain. It was called Zhouchu Village. It was the village with the highest altitude outside of Jade Capital. At the same time, it was also famous for being poor in this area. This place was indeed very poor. In the entire village there were only a few dozen thatched houses. The best houses in the village were just a few houses built with stones. The entrance to the village was the mountain path. Beside it were some corn stalks that had just sprouted. At a glance, there was nothing else in the entire village other than these. This is probably the first time you've come to this kind of mountain village. I also lived in such a village when I was young, so I'm not surprised. Among the three of them, Yunsheng's reaction was the most normal. She glanced at GMO with a smile that was not a smile. This brat just said that he came from a village. He deserved to be slapped in the face. GMO's face also reddened. But he didn't expect that Yunsheng lived in such a dilapidated village in her early years. Yunsheng also turned her head. A place like this probably didn't even have a Dharma temple. Let's go to the front and take a look. Yunsheng did not say anything and led the two of them into the village. After taking a few steps, they heard someone call out, "Isn't that the Lord Godly Doctor?" They saw a woman walking out of a thatched house in front of them. The woman was busy doing farm work in the fields. When she heard the voices outside, she walked over and saw Yunsheng and the others. "Hey, isn't this the Andy from the volunteer clinic?" Lin Yao recognized the woman. It turned out that this woman was the wife of the farmer that Yunsheng had met during the volunteer clinic. "It's really the Lord Godly Doctor." "Lord Godly Doctor, you're here for the volunteer clinic again? That's great. There are many elderly and children in the village who are not feeling well. It's just that the mountain path is inconvenient and they can't go down the mountain. Wait a moment, I'll get my husband to inform the villagers." The woman was overjoyed. She wiped her hands clean and raised her voice to call for the villagers. "Sai auntie, we're not here to..." Lin Yao was speechless. "Don't worry, we're just here to see a doctor. GMO, later on you will help me treat the patient. While you are at it, help me take a look and see if there are any children and adults in this village who can sense magic." Yunsheng smiled as if she was used to such situations. So, the reason she called him was to ask him to help with the volunteer clinic. But, why did she want him to help see if the villagers could sense magic? GMO was secretly surprised. He looked at the village again and suddenly understood something. This village was remote and had few villagers. Even the Dharma temple was not stationed in this village. In such a village, no one would check the physique of the villagers or their magical aptitude. To put it more accurately, there were many villages like this in Zhou State. This was an empty area between the martial arts centers and the Dharma temple. All the villagers here, what a good Yunsheng. She actually wanted to snatch people from the Dharma temple and the martial arts center? GMO was greatly shocked in his heart, but his face remained calm. Under the farmer's propaganda, the villagers of this small mountain village quickly rushed out. In such a remote village there was only one chance to go down the mountain to see a doctor. It was rare to see a doctor, and a highly skilled one at that. How could the villagers not be excited? It was only a village of 300 to 400 people. Sick people and healthy people all gathered around. Lin Yao had to temporarily take up the role of maintaining order. The villagers were simple people. When they heard that a godly doctor was coming, they all gathered around to take a look. The villagers even pushed their children forward, saying that if the godly doctor touched them, they would be cured of all illnesses. Yun Sheng and GMO were respectively in charge of the patients. Fortunately, the villagers were only suffering from minor ailments. In just 4 hours, the two of them had finished seeing all the patients. How is it? How are the children's aptitudes? Yun Sheng asked GMO as she tidied up. A few of the children have the ability to sense magic. However, the ability to sense magic is very weak. It's almost non-existent, GMO replied honestly. Magic talent was passed down from generation to generation. The children here were farmers for generations. It was already good enough to find a few with weak magic talent. My results are slightly better than yours. 30 to 40% of the children have good physiques. After some rest, they can practice martial arts. Yun Sheng did not seem surprised by this result. Just as GMO was about to open his mouth and ask Yun Sheng what her intentions were, a man with a rosy face and a loud voice walked over from the village entrance with quick steps. Godly doctor, thank you so much. I'm so sorry. I was so focused on treating everyone that I even forgot to invite you to eat. Yun Sheng and the rest only found out later that the farmer they met at the Jade Capital Free Clinic was the village chief of Zhouchu village. When Yun Sheng and the rest arrived, he had just gone out. He only rushed back around dinner time. Chapter 371. Hearing that the divine doctor who treated him in the city a few days ago had come, the village chief was very happy. The villagers had a headache and fever, but Yun Sheng gave them some medicinal pills and they were all cured. They were very grateful to Yun Sheng and little Cientong. The village chief persuaded the villagers to go back and let his wife greet Yun Sheng and others to enter the house. Although he was the village chief, the farmer's family was not rich. The couple raised 3 or 4 children. During the meal, the children ran around the table. They were very curious about the new guests and wandered around Yun Sheng and GMO. Especially GMO, he didn't speak since he entered the house. However, those children liked him very much and kept pestering him to play with them. When the village chief saw this, he was very embarrassed and scolded the children a few words. It doesn't matter. I didn't have any brothers or sisters since I was a child. Let them play. GMO motioned the village chief not to mind. He didn't speak much. At first, he was a bit nervous, as if he had never encountered a situation where he played with children. No one knew GMO's mood now. When he was a child, because of his extraordinary talent in magic, he spent almost all his time practicing magic and improving his magic realm. As his reputation as a genius grew more and more resounding in the continent, his fellow apprentices and sisters of the same age as him only dared to look at him from afar with reverence. Over time he was all alone. It was only when UG and UMO appeared that things changed a little. But because of the identity of the two brothers, they have always been respectful to him, which made him less intimate. GMO wanted to play with the children, but he also had to maintain a reserved appearance. All of this fell into Yun Sheng's eyes. Sirs, let's eat. Our village is poor, so we didn't know there were distinguished guests. I'm sorry. While speaking, the farmer woman brought a few pots of porridge in coarse porcelain bowls, a few black and hard cornbread, and a few yellow corn buds that had just been picked. Although it was called porridge, it was actually just a few grains of coarse rice and a lot of water. Looking at the dirty bowl and the stone-like cornbread, even this kind of dinner was already very rare for the village head's children. They only drank the thin porridge in small mouthfuls and looked at the cornbread with eager eyes. Mother had already said that these were for the guests. GMO didn't move his chopsticks. Thank you, Auntie. I'm really hungry. Yun Sheng was very straightforward. She didn't hesitate and ate in big mouthfuls. She opened her hand and picked up the cornbread. She divided it into several portions and handed it to the envious children. Lin Yao also learned from Yun Sheng eating and sharing at the same time. GMO was slightly taken aback and hesitated. In the end, he imitated Yun Dashing and the others and began to eat and drink in large mouthfuls. He did not care about the dirty rice bowl and the coarse grain at all. To GMO, this meal was something he would never forget. After dinner, the woman coaxed the children away, leaving Yun Sheng and the others to discuss the matter of the herbal field with the village head. Lord Miracle Doctor? You mean you want to grow herbs in our village? The village head thought that he had misheard. Zhouchu village was located in a remote area and the roads were poor. Although the soil was considered fertile, there was a certain amount of labor in the village. However, due to transportation issues, the things in the village could not be transported down the mountain, and things at the foot of the mountain could not be transported up. What if I have a way to solve the transportation problem? Yun Sheng smiled. She had already seen the soil in the village. The soil here was very suitable for growing a rare herb called sea buckthorn. This herb could be sold for 5 silver coins per kilogram in the market. Lord Miracle Doctor, is what you said true? The village head's face was full of disbelief. You'll know when night falls. Yun Sheng deliberately kept him in suspense and did not continue. After dinner, Yun Sheng and Lin Yao accompanied the woman to chat. GMO stood alone at the entrance of the village and looked at the steep hills. The night sky was dotted with stars. What kind of person was she? When alone, GMO restrained his indifferent aura in front of others. Although his slightly pale face was ordinary under the night light, there was a layer of soft light. What are you thinking about? Yun Sheng walked over and stood beside GMO. I'm thinking about you. GMO paused slightly, as if he was frightened by his own bold words. I'm thinking about how you can solve the transportation problem here. In fact, it's not just a transportation problem. You know that it's not easy to grow sea buckthorn. The villagers here are all farmers. They don't know how to grow such a precious herb. It's difficult for ordinary people to grow it. However, it's different if it's a magician. Yun Sheng's gaze also looked into the dark sky. However, unlike GMO, she liked to look for a little bit of stars in the dark sky, looking for a little bit of light. Magician? You mean? A thought flashed through GMO's mind. He thought about what Yun Sheng did earlier. Then he thought about it. You might not know, but magic can also be used to grow herbs. The effect of the basic earth thorns is 10 times better than ordinary soil. In the dry season you can use the rain gathering spell. In the cold season you can use fire magic to create a greenhouse. The herb field I want is a magic herb field. I want Zhou Chutsuan to be the first in Zhou State to use magic to grow herbs. Yun Sheng's voice was very low, but when her words fell into GMO's ears, it was very shocking. In fact, using magic to grow herbs was not the first thing Yun Sheng thought of. The Temple of Dharma also used magic to grow some precious herbs. However, no one dared to use magic to grow herbs in an ordinary village without a single magician. If someone else said this, GMO would just laugh it off. However, Yun Sheng had the ability to do so because she had a high-grade magic potion, the Moon God's Praise. It was a magical potion that could allow ordinary people to become magicians immediately. Even though the Temple of Dharma found the best magic apothecaries and used all kinds of magic materials, they did not have any clues about the Moon God's Praise in the past year. In the boundless continent, only this female magician and healer in front of him had such a magical potion. It was no wonder that she wanted him to check the children's bodies to see if they had the ability to sense magic. No matter how weak the ability to sense magic was, as long as they drank the Moon God's Praise, they could immediately become magicians. Children had the best learning ability. As long as she taught them basic magic, Zhou Chutsuan would have its first batch of magicians in a few days. This speed was too terrifying. GMO could almost see that in the near future, Zhou State would have a batch of talented magicians. And these people were all nurtured by this girl who was not even 10 years old. Chapter 372. Although he was usually calm, his palms were already sweating. He knew that this was a serious matter and he had to report it to the temple as soon as possible. But what would happen if the temple found out? With Yun Sheng's personality, she would never give in to the temple's pressure. Then the only thing left to do was to kill her. There were many geniuses on the mainland who were killed before they could grow up. Beside him, a faint smell of herbs drifted over. Yun Sheng looked up at the sky, her dark eyes filled with starlight. GMO, do you prefer day or night? Yun Sheng had not seen such a beautiful starry sky for a long time. It was said that it was lonely at the top, but only at the top could one see the purest starry sky. GMO blurted out almost instinctively, of course it's day. Only when there is light everywhere can one see the beauty of this world. But I like the night because after the night comes the day. Yun Sheng turned around and smiled brightly. Her eyes were like crescent moons and the dimples on her lips made GMO feel as if he had drunk a mouthful of aged wine. Warmth flowed from the bottom of his heart to his brain and his heartbeat quickened. At that moment only the two of them were left in this world. He couldn't help but rejoice that it was night and Yun Sheng wouldn't notice his abnormal expression. After the dark night, was it day? Just as GMO was about to ask Yun Sheng why she said that, the starlight disappeared. In the dark night sky, a group of things flew over from afar. As they got closer, they saw that it was a group of bat beasts. They were not ordinary bat beasts, but gigantic winged green bats the size of ponies. The giant winged green bat was a special magical beast that lived on an island in the sea. It was the largest type of bat, but it was different from other bats. It didn't only appear at night. It traveled day and night. It mainly ate vegetables, grass and hay. It was very gentle and could be easily tamed by a summoner. In Penglai, the gigantic winged green bats were a very popular aerial mount. There were no less than 50 bats, and the leader was a sacred beast summoner that had not been seen in a long time, Zhongyi. His commander Dragon Claw Bat flew at the very front. GMO noticed that the gigantic winged green bats were carrying seeds and fertilizer on their backs. Zhongyi, you're really slow. I thought we'd have to wait until dawn, Yunxing complained impatiently when she saw Zhongyi. Hey my little ancestor, you think it's too slow? It only took me 1 day and 1 night to tame these big guys. Then I flew them across more than half of Zhou State before arriving here. Along the way I had to think about not scaring the civilians, so I took the long way around. Do you think it's easy for me? Zhongyi jumped down from Bat King's back and complained. Speaking of which, it was quite embarrassing. He was a dignified holy beast summoner, but he was actually sent by Yunxing to tame wild giant winged green bats. These big guys were all stupid. It took him a long time to teach them before they understood the order and followed him back to Zhou State. As soon as the 50 large winged green bats landed, they let out a series of muffled cries. The villagers who heard the sound all ran out of their houses. When the village head's children saw the rat-like magical beasts with strange wings, they were so scared that they didn't move and desperately hid behind GMO. Everyone, don't be afraid. These are the magical beasts that this honorable Lord Summoner found. They are very docile and only eat grass and hay, just like the mules in everyone's houses. If you don't believe me, who wants to go up and try? Yunxing urged the villagers. That's right. These level 4 giant winged green bats were the special magical beasts that she had found to transport medicinal herbs. With these gentle green bats with amazing flying abilities, she would be able to solve the transportation problem of Zhouchu village. It really won't bite? The village head's youngest daughter, a 4-year-old girl with a ponytail, walked out, her big eyes blinking. She grabbed a few stalks of hay from her shed and walked in front of a green bat. As soon as she reached out her hand, the starving green bat, which had been flying for a whole night, came up to her and ate all the hay. Perhaps sensing the little girl's fear, the green bat didn't forget to use its large wings to pat the little girl's shoulder. The stiff hairs on the green bat's wings pricked the little girl's tender cheeks, itching and numbing. The little girl immediately let out a giggle. Father, I like this big guy. Let's raise it? Hearing their little sister's words, the village head's boys also jumped out with a whoosh. They were all very brave and all walked over, either climbing or touching the green bat, having a lot of fun playing with it. When the other villagers saw this, they also dispelled their fear and all gathered around the green bat, discussing non-stop. Seeing this scene, Yunxing smiled. When GMO saw this, it was as if a huge rock had been thrown into his heart, the ripples spreading wider and wider. Magical beasts and humans had always been irreconcilable, but she had managed to do it. The sky gradually darkened. Yunxing and the village head decided to discuss the planting of sea buckthorns tomorrow morning. The villagers gradually dispersed, leaving only GMO standing outside the house. The air in the mountain village was especially fresh. After the flock of green bats, the night sky also regained its tranquility. However, GMO's heart was increasingly unsettled. He was originally an extremely intelligent person. He felt that no matter who or what could escape his pair of eyes. However, Yunxing's appearance and her completely unpredictable actions made GMO, or rather, Xia Wenshu, unable to get over it for a long time. That's right, this sorcerer called GMO was the young and precocious person from the Dharma Temple, Xia Wenshu, who made the entire magical world tremble in fear upon hearing his name. A few months ago he accompanied his master, Elder Si Ming, to the Jade Capital to help the Zhou State's royal family survive a calamity. However, it was at that time that the appearance of the moon god's praise high-grade magical potion, as well as the appearance of the sacred elixir, Sage Herb 1000 Golden Pill, made the Dharma Temple, which had always been calm in handling matters, somewhat flustered. Su'er, in the past year the growth of your cultivation has slowed down. I have calculated for you that you will encounter a great calamity in the next few years. This calamity, I have calculated, is closely related to the fate of the Zhou State's royal family. You don't have to follow me back to the Dharma Temple. Stay in the Jade Capital for the time being. At the same time, find out about the origin of the sorcerer who refined the moon god's praise. Remember, no matter what the situation is, you cannot go against the will of heaven. When Elder Si Ming left, he only warned Xia Wenshu these words. Just like how a doctor does not treat himself, Xiao Wenshu, who had the ability to predict the future of others, could not predict his own fate. Therefore he stayed. Xiao Wenshu investigated for a while and finally found the little Ci Entong. Coincidentally, he met the female doctor from the little Ci Entong who was doing free medical treatment on the streets. However, what he did not expect was that the female sorcerer who was equally outstanding in the field of magical potions and ancient medicine was actually the little girl he had met once. However, time flew by and 2 years had passed. Her appearance had changed, but her temper was still exactly the same as before. Chapter 373. After the free clinic, Xiao Wenshu accidentally saw the recruitment notice of the little Ci Entong. With Ji Mo's identity, he lied for the first time in his life and entered the little Ci Entong. His original purpose was to investigate the creation of the tribute of the moon god. However, after a long time he felt that his original intention had changed. Just like today when he found out about Yun Sheng's daring actions, he should have immediately reported it to the temple. However, when he thought that if the temple knew about Yun Sheng's existence, it was very likely that they would kill her, or even make him do it personally, he felt a throbbing pain in his heart. As for the villagers, their earlier happiness and the changes that were about to bring to the village would all come to an end. Until the sun rose in the east, GMO was still unable to release the magic crane that reported the news. With a flick of his hand, the magic crane shattered into pieces in the air. Without saying a word, he walked into the thatched hut. Yun Sheng's temperament had always been impetuous. The next day she brought the village chief and told the villagers that she wanted to contract the village to plant medicinal herbs. When the villagers heard that they could plant medicinal herbs that cost a few silver coins per caddy, they were all overjoyed. Every household was very enthusiastic, and every household received 10 caddies of medicinal herb seeds. In addition, Yun Sheng also chose 20 children from the village. Of these children, 10 of them were between 4 and 10 years old, and they more or less had some magic sensing ability in their bodies. The other 10 had very good physiques, and Yun Sheng planned to send them to the Wu Profound Limitless School to undergo the most basic martial arts training after washing their marrow and bones. After everything was ready, Yun Sheng brought the children down the mountain. The preparations for the first magic herb farm went smoothly. Yun Sheng refined dozens of bottles of the tribute of the moon god at the foot of the mountain. What surprised her was that, other than one child who failed, most of the children successfully became magic spell warriors. Among them, there was even one who was a dual elemental mage. The remaining 8 were mostly fire, earth and wind elemental mages. Yun Sheng was overjoyed and immediately began to teach these children the most basic meditation and basic magic. In just half a month, 9 mages who knew basic magic were formed. If the people from the Royal Magic Academy were to find out about this, they would probably vomit blood. Yun Sheng then asked the Zong personality to bring the children back to the village. The planting of the sea buckthorns had also started successfully. Seeing that the moon god's praise was so effective, Yun Sheng also tried using it on the sky hunting group. But when the effects came out, Yun Sheng was disappointed. She had used a total of 50 bottles of the praise of the moon god, but only 5 of the adult soldiers of the hunting squad had successfully become magic warriors. This disappointed Yun Sheng. It seemed that although the praise of the moon goddess was mysterious, it was best used on children under the age of 12. However, she still decided to specially train these hunters who were both magicians and warriors. In this aspect of training, Yun Sheng directly grabbed Yi Baiming and brought him over to train this group of special hunters. You want to train them to be dual elemental mages? Yi Baiming raised his eyebrows. He had never rejected Yun Sheng's requests. In Zhou State there were not many people who knew that Yi Baiming was a dual elemental mage. If it were anyone else, Yi Baiming would have killed them immediately. But since it was Yun Sheng, he could not reject her. I can help you train them, but I want 10 of them. Also, I have a request. Since these people are handed over to me, no matter what they become in the future, you can't ask about it. Yi Baiming's words made Yun Sheng shudder. Actually, ever since Yun Sheng disappeared for no reason, Yi Baiming already felt that there was a need to train a group of personal guards for Yun Sheng. He could not be by Yun Sheng's side all the time. Therefore, a group of personal guards that belonged to her and that Yi Baiming could trust at the same time was especially important. The number of people is not a problem. But what exactly do you want to do? Yun Sheng always felt that the longer she spent with Yi Baiming, the less she understood him. I want to train them to be magic warriors. Yi Baiming smiled and did not want to say more. Yun Sheng did not ask any more questions. After a few days, she gathered enough warriors and mages and handed them over to Yi Baiming. This group of magic warriors disappeared without a trace. Yun Xing did not have any news about them. It was not until later, when Yi Baiming handed over the 10 personal guards to Yun Xing, that Yun Xing knew what magic warriors were. At this time, Zhou Quan also went to look for Yun Xing. Young Master Yun, we have already searched the entire Jade Capital. We have also been monitoring the Lotus Garden that Miss Yen Pei mentioned for a long time, but we have not found any red-robed man. Zhou Quan and the rest were still searching for Xian Yu's murderer. This case had already been closed by the authorities and was classified as murder. However, there was no clue as to the murderer. Zhou Quan also did not understand why this young master was still so persistent in finding the murderer, since Tang Yu had already been exiled and cleared of the crime. Yun Xing naturally would not tell Zhou Quan that she suspected that the red-robed man was related to the Grand Emperor city. After all, the entire purpose of this matter was to destroy the reputation of the Yun residents. In addition, Xian Mimi had previously said that Xian Wuji did not return to the Grand Emperor city but went to the Jade Capital. Yun Xing had already searched all the inns in the Jade Capital but did not find Xian Wuji's whereabouts. As such, there could only be two reasons. One was that Xian Wuji had already left the Jade Capital. The other was that Xian Wuji very likely had a residence in the Jade Capital. Therefore, the soldiers of the Heaven Extermination Hunting Corps could not find any clues about him. After all, the Grand Emperor city was rich and imposing. It was very normal for them to have residences in the capital cities of various countries. The Grand Emperor city and some important people in Zhou State must have a certain connection. Xian Wuji's original plan had been thwarted by Yun Xing. No one knew what he would do next. As time passed, the uneasiness in Yun Xing's heart grew stronger. She had a feeling that something was going to happen, but she could not find any clues. Vaguely, she felt that some conspiracy was about to happen. However, the enemy was in the dark while she was in the light. She really had no way of finding Xian Wuji. The more it was like this, the more Yun Xing felt the importance of having her own personal bodyguard. "Oh right, young Master Yun, you were busy with the medical center earlier. I haven't told you yet." Zhou Quan recalled something. He told Yun Xing that after the purple gold mine had collapsed, they had found a special kind of ore when they were cleaning up the scene. Zhou Quan ordered someone to take a piece of ore. This ore was the one that Yun Xing had used the lightning to blast open the abnormally hard wall. Chapter 374. That day, after Yun Xing used the magic lightning vortex to blow up the strange wall, she entered the geocentric smelting cave. Later, when the hunters entered the cave to clean up the scene, they discovered that it was not an ordinary stone, but a very special kind of metal. "We went to the blacksmith shop in the city and asked. No one recognized this kind of metal, and this kind of metal is very light." Zhou Quan told Yun Songlong about this matter. Yun Songlong only said that they should keep the ore first and wait for Yun Xing to return before making a conclusion. Who knew that after Yun Xing returned, she would be busy with Tang Yu's murder case, and then the matter of the magic medicine manor. It was delayed until today that Zhou Quan remembered this matter. When Yun Xing heard this, she could not help but feel a little strange. She also knew that the wall was not an ordinary thing. After all, it was a magic wall used to seal by an. It was very likely that it was left behind by the powerful magician who suppressed by an earlier time. Yun Xing looked at the stone left behind by the shattered wall and found that it was just as Zhou Quan said. The stone of the wall was very light, but its density was very astonishing. No weapon could pierce through it. We also asked the biggest blacksmith shop in the city. They couldn't refine this kind of ore. Zhou Quan found someone to count the number of pieces of this kind of ore. There were about 100 pieces. Yun Xing asked Zhou Quan to bring the ores over. After putting the ores into the beast language ring, Yun Xing came to the magic tower of the Imperial Magic Academy. One of the conditions for her to leave the Imperial Magic Academy to go to Wushuan Everlasting School was to be able to continue using the magic tower of the Imperial Magic Academy in the future. With her current skills, a simple earthmeld spell was enough for her to evade the school guards and arrive at the magic tower. "It's you." The old magician in the magic tower recognized Yun Xing. When he saw Yun Xing's magic scepter, his half-closed eyes couldn't help but open. "It's only been a year, and your magic realm has broken through again?" The old magician had stayed in the magic tower for a long time and had seen countless students and mentors, but it was the first time he had seen someone like Yun Xing. He remembered that the last time Yun Xing came to the magic tower, her magic cultivation was only that of a magician, but now she was already an archmagus. To be precise, she was a peak great magician. He could sense that Yun Xing was about to break through to master magician's cultivation. Yes, Sir Old Magician, I came here today to practice, and also to ask you about something. Yun Xing knew that many mentors would enter the magic tower to refine equipment. The old magician has been guarding the magic tower for a long time, so his knowledge shouldn't be comparable to an ordinary magician. If Yun Sheng's intuition wasn't wrong, then this notorious old magician should be the one with the highest magic cultivation in the entire Royal Magic Academy. Yun Sheng took out several special ores and gave them to the old magician. When he saw the pieces of ore, the old magician's eyes flashed with a glimmer of light. But immediately after, the old magician retracted his gaze and sized up Yun Sheng. His gaze lingered on Yun Sheng's forehead for a few more times. Little girl, I'm really envious of your good fortune. The exquisite beast tower was taken by you, right? When the old magician spoke, Yun Sheng's heart slightly froze. It seems that the old magician has already discovered the secret of the exquisite beast tower's theft. No need to panic, that exquisite beast tower is a treasure that can only be obtained by a fated person. Since it is fated to be with you, you can take it. As for the ores in your hands, they are hellfire ores. You are the master of hellfire, so these ores can be used to refine magic equipment. After the old magician finished speaking, he returned the ores to Yun Sheng. Hellfire ores? After the old magician's reminder, Yun Sheng came to know that hellfire ores are a very special type of ore. It is neither a stone nor a metal. It is a type of magical ore formed during the process of sealing hellfire. Sir Old Magician, can you tell me how to refine this type of magic ore? My companions have already tried various methods, but they were still unable to melt it. Yun Sheng respectfully asked. Her humble attitude attracted the old magician's goodwill. He pondered for a moment. Little girl, how about this? I will tell you the origin of this ore, but I also have a presumptuous request. The old magician coughed a few times to cover up his embarrassment. He is even older than Yun Sheng's grandfather. But today he had to threaten this little girl, so the old magician naturally felt a little embarrassed. Sir Old Magician, as long as I can do it and it doesn't go against my principles, I will agree. Yun Sheng's face was forthright. Seeing that she was so straightforward, the old magician also felt relieved. He took out a magic scepter. It was a magic scepter made from the bones of 100-years-old magical beast. There were 4 magic soul stones inlaid on it. It seems that this old magician who was guarding the magic tower was really an expert at the level of a Saint Magus. This old man wants you to help me refine this magic scepter. The old magician's magic scepter looked like it had been around for many years. It seemed to be about the same age as the old magician. Generally speaking, the magic scepters of the boundless world could be eliminated, especially for some powerful magicians. After they broke through the level of a master magician, they would choose to eliminate the magic scepters they used in the early stages and choose a more advanced magic scepter. Yun Songhai also had the same idea when he chose the bewitching bone scepter for Yun Sheng. Yun Sheng looked at the magic scepter and was a little puzzled. Sir Old Magician, this magic scepter is too old. Even if it is repaired, it won't be very useful. You should change it. No, I'm not afraid that you will laugh at me. This magic scepter was found by my late wife together with me. It has been with me for 70 years. My age is about the same and I don't intend to change it. When the old magician spoke of his late wife, there was a touch of indescribable tenderness in his eyes. To the old magician, this magic scepter was like his beloved wife who had been with him for many years, but had passed away due to illness. He could no longer live without it. Therefore he wanted to ask Yun Sheng to use the hellfire in her body to refine this magic scepter for him. Legend has it that the hellfire of the elves was the most magical flame in the world. It could wash away the impurities of a magic scepter and make it shine with magic power again. Yun Sheng was touched by the old magician's infatuation with his wife, and decided to help him refine this magic scepter that had been around for 70 years. The old magician also kept his promise, and immediately told Yun Sheng the secret of refining the hellfire ore again. It was fate that the hellfire ore fell into Yun Sheng's hands. This was because Yun Sheng had the hellfire of the elves, the only one on the continent that could refine the hellfire ore again. Chapter 375. For others, even if they obtained the hellfire ore, they wouldn't be able to refine it. Instead, it would be thrown away as a waste ore. But the ores are different in your hands, because you can refine them with karmic fire and refine them into the one and only magic tool of eternal life. The old magician said as he looked at Yun Sheng's karmic fire ores with envy. Eternal magic tool? Yun Sheng could be considered half an entry-level magic craftsman now. She had refined abandoned magic scepters before. She knew that the magic weapons on the boundless continent were called low-grade, middle-grade, high-grade, saint-grade, and divine-grade. However, she had never heard of an eternal magic weapon. The name of the eternal magic tool came from the ordinary magic tools. Compared to the ordinary magic tools, which would automatically be destroyed after one or several uses, the eternal magic tool would never be destroyed. It was also called the eternal magic tool. It was like a battle beast from the time it was formed to the time it fought. It would gradually become stronger through continuous trials. However, it was more powerful than a battle beast because it was made of ore and would not be killed directly. You mean it's like I have a robot? Yunxing didn't understand what he was saying. Robot? What's that? That is to say, you have a super magic soldier that is constantly getting stronger. The old magician didn't understand what Yunxing was talking about. Yunxing suddenly understood. She looked at the ore in her hand and unconsciously swallowed a mouthful of saliva. She muttered, "It's a pity that I only have a few dozen kilograms of karmic fire ore. If I had a large pile of karmic fire ore, I could refine a super army." This thing was good. If she encountered any life-threatening missions in the future, she could directly send the magic soldier. Seeing Yunxing's eyes shining and her head full of fantasies, the old magician shook his head. This little girl didn't know what kind of terrifying existence she had. She actually wanted to have a super magic soldier. That's why I'm saying that your fortuitous encounter has made this old man jealous. Forget it, you're also a student of the Royal Magic Academy. Here is a magic card with unlimited usage. Keep it. In the future, whenever you need it, you can directly enter the magic tower. The old magician shook his head as he looked at Yunxing, who was completely immersed in the thoughts of refining a magic soldier. He had a vague premonition that the future of the Royal Magic Academy might be closely related to this female student in front of him. Thank you, Sir Old Magician. I'll take your magic scepter and enter the magic space. Yunxing couldn't wait to try the new refining. She put away the magic scepter and walked towards the higher floors of the magic tower. When he was halfway there, he heard footsteps coming from the front. It's you? Why are you here? Qin Lianer was walking down the stairs not far away. After returning from Wuxia City, Yunxing heard that Qin Lianer had gone missing. However, she was sent back later. Since then, Qin Lianer seemed to have disappeared without a trace. When Yunxing saw Qin Lianer again, she found that the magic around her was much stronger than before. Master Magician? She actually broke through earlier than the Crown Prince Yi Balian? It was true that a scholar who had been away for 3 days had to be looked at with new eyes. Yunxing found that Qin Lianer's cultivation had greatly increased. Moreover, she was different from when she saw her before. Qin Lianer in front of her looked overly calm. Her face that was injured by the water arrow fin fish had already recovered. Her skin was creamy and her face was flushed. She didn't look like she was disfigured at all. If you can be here, then I can naturally be here too. Don't forget, I'm also a student of the Royal Magic Academy. Yunxing was still a student of the Royal Magic Academy in name. Qin Lianer had no right to prohibit her from cultivating in the magic tower. After saying that, Yunxing walked forward by herself. When she brushed past Qin Lianer, the other party said sinisterly, "Don't be too proud. Your good days with Yi Baiming are coming to an end. When the Crown Prince ascends the throne, the first person he will kill will be Yi Baiming." Hee, you can say this in front of the Zhou State Emperor. I think the Zhou State Emperor is still in his prime. It won't be the Crown Prince's turn to ascend the throne for a while. Yunxing sneered. This woman was also ridiculous. She wasn't anyone related to Yi Baiming. What was the use of saying these things to her? Even if the Zhou State Empire was in chaos, it had nothing to do with Yunxing. After saying that, she left in a flash. Qin Lianer stood in the corridor for a while. She sneered and left the magic tower. The unlimited magic card that the old magician had given Yunxing could open up any magic space in the magic tower at will. Yunxing chose a relatively secluded magic space on the 6th floor of the magic tower. She didn't immediately start refining the hellfire ore. Instead, she decided to upgrade the old magician's magic scepter first. That magic scepter had a history of 70 years. Although the user cherished it very much, there were already a lot of calcified black spots on its surface. Yunxing chanted. A flame that looked like a hellfire lotus appeared in her hand. The hellfire enveloped the entire magic scepter. In the bright red flame, the magic scepter made a squeaking sound that sounded like a human's voice. As the flame burned, the black spots on the surface of the magic scepter, as well as the dimmed magic soul stone, glowed with a new color as if they were reborn in the fire. The turbid matter in the bones of the magical beast was completely burned away by the hellfire. At the last moment of refining, the magic scepter suddenly left Yunsheng's hand. It flew into the air and drew a beautiful arc. Then the magic scepter fell to the ground. A brand new magic scepter appeared in front of Yunsheng. Not only the scepter itself, but even the soul stone was filled with magic power again. She didn't expect the hellfire of the elves to have such a magical ability. Yunsheng couldn't help but think that when she broke through to become a master mage, she must purify her bewitching bone scepter once. After the purification of the magic scepter was completed, the next step was to refine the eternal magic weapon. Yunsheng drank the meditation water first. Then she took out all the hellfire ore from the beast language ring. Soon a small mountain of hellfire ore was piled up in the magic space. With so many hellfire ores, she couldn't use hellfire like how she purified the magic scepter just now. Yunsheng chanted. Hellfire explosion. 6 or 7 hellfire explosions erupted from her magic scepter at once. They were like 6 or 7 fire snakes that rushed towards the hellfire ores. The upgraded version of hellfire had an even more astonishing attack power. As soon as the hellfire touched the ores, it burned fiercely. In the hellfire, the ores that were originally extremely hard gradually softened. This refinement was more difficult than any refinement that Yunsheng had experienced before. As it consumed more magic power, Yunsheng could only continuously replenish the meditation water to ensure that the hellfire didn't go out. After burning for half a day, the size of the hellfire ore that was like a small mountain had also shrunk rapidly. It turned into a lump of ore paste that was like molten iron. However, what should she refine her magic weapon into? Chapter 376. Yunsheng tried to sketch out the appearance of the magical soldier in her mind, but unfortunately her imagination was limited in this aspect. After repeatedly imagining Transformers, Robocop and so on, she finally had a rough prototype in her mind. Withdraw. Yunsheng clenched her 5 fingers, and the hellfire ore gradually formed the shape of a human. Just like using her hands to knead clay, Yunsheng used her consciousness to control the hellfire and shape the appearance of the magical soldier in her mind. Another half a day passed. Outside the magic tower, the sun rose and set. The moon rose above the top of the magic tower and set again. When a brand new day arrived and the roosters crowed, the hellfire ore had already formed the shape of a human. Yunsheng also felt a wave of magical power rushing toward her internal organs. Her magic soul released a dazzling light. I've broken through. Yunsheng immediately sat down cross-legged after witnessing the completion of refining the ore. While Yunsheng was breaking through, the magical weapon refined from the hellfire ore in front of her was also standing there quietly. Yunsheng's breakthrough this time lasted for a full 3 days and 3 nights. From an archmage to a master of magic, it sounded like it was only a magical realm, but its significance was no small matter. This was because only when one became a master of magic could one begin to cultivate high-level magic. Yunsheng had 5 magic souls, but so far she had not comprehended any high-level magic. Of course, the esoteric magic she knew was actually more powerful than high-level magic. However, the esoteric magic was too precious. It was equivalent to Yunsheng's trump card, so Yunsheng would never use it in front of others easily. What made Yunsheng even happier was that with her breakthrough to a master of magic, the 4th extraordinary tendon in her body had also been opened, and the jade marrow technique had also improved by 1 level. Shinong's pupil had also improved to the 3rd level, and the technique of Trillium Hand had also improved by 1 level. This time it could be said to be a comprehensive improvement. This had never happened before in her previous breakthroughs. Yunsheng concluded that it was probably because she had frequently refined elixirs and magic potions in the early days. In addition, she had consumed a large amount of karmic fire lotus roots in the smelted geocentric cave, which had accumulated a large amount of spiritual energy in her body. After adjusting her breathing for a while, Yunsheng opened her eyes. She looked at the hourglass she carried with her and found that 3 days and 3 nights had passed. She couldn't help but pat her forehead. Oh no, I left in a hurry and forgot to greet the people in the clinic. Lin Yao, must be worried sick after not seeing him for 3 days. Yunsheng jumped up and her eyes suddenly fell on a corner of the magic space. Her lips twitched. He suddenly remembered the real purpose of his visit to the Mana Tower. At this moment, the life magic tool she had refined was right in front of her. It's just that she didn't expect that the ores, which looked black earlier, would reveal such an appearance after being burned by the karmic fire. If it weren't for the fact that the magic space was completely enclosed, she really couldn't imagine what was standing in the corner, looking like the 18 bronze men of the Shaolin Temple in the movie. A humanoid figure, naked from head to toe, shining with the dazzling light of purple gold coins, was the eternal magic tool she had spent a day refining. The old magician had also said that these karmic fire ores were originally the best purple gold ores, but because of the seal they had lost their original appearance. Yun Sheng's karmic fire completely melted the karmic fire ores, revealing the purest purple gold ores inside. The golden light was more dazzling than any imperial purple gold coin Yun Sheng had ever seen. Yun Sheng thought to herself, not to mention whether this eternal magic tool was really as powerful as the old magician said, just its golden body alone was worth a lot of money. Yun Sheng thought for a while and gave her first eternal magic tool a rather high-end name. From now on, you will be called Tyrant Gold. After Yun Sheng gave the eternal magic tool a name, she wanted to try it out and see how powerful it was. She didn't know how to control Tyrant Gold, so after thinking about it, she summoned her own magical beasts from the exquisite beast tower. Puff, my dear master, I haven't summoned Puff for a long time. The puffed egg was still very enthusiastic. When it saw Yun Sheng, its first reaction was to pounce on her. Yun Sheng had already experienced the strange power of the egg and quickly dodged. Unexpectedly, before Yun Sheng could move, a golden light flashed in front of Yun Sheng and blocked the puffed egg. The puffed egg flew over and with a bang, it knocked Tyrant Gold away. The puffed egg also felt that its master's touch was not right this time. It suddenly found that in addition to its master, there was another strange guy in the magic space. Xiao Hei and the centipede ant general also looked curiously at the golden guy who looked like a human. That's your new companion, Tyrant Gold. In the future you will all be companions, so you should get along well. Yun Sheng was happy when she saw it. This guy was not bad, it seemed to know how to protect her. The puffed egg not only had amazing strength but it was also very fast. She didn't expect Tyrant Gold to be able to block the puffed egg. And from its performance just now, it seemed that as long as an unknown object approached its master, Yun Sheng, it would immediately react. Puff puff, master is the most annoying. She likes the new and hates the old. Even with Xiao Hei and Little Hundred it's not enough. I hate Tyrant Gold. The puffed egg's egg brain was very simple. This guy was master's new pet. Seeing how affectionate master was towards it, she definitely didn't like puffed egg. Previously, when Yun Sheng subdued Xiao Hei and Little Hundred, the puffed egg was not present, so it could only accept it. But now this golden thing was fighting for master's attention. The puffed egg was angry. It decided to teach Tyrant Gold a lesson. It flapped its wings and knocked Tyrant Gold out with a bang. Usually, when the puffed egg was being intimate with its master, it paid attention to controlling its strength. It knew that its master's body was a magician and couldn't take it. However, against Tycoon Jean, it did not hold back in the slightest. It could be said that it had unleashed all of its power. With a single charge, it wanted to smash Tycoon Jean into pieces. Tyrant Gold was sent flying. This was no small matter. The entire magical space shook a few times as if it had experienced a magnitude 9 earthquake. Xiao Hei and the black centipede ant general who were watching the fight also sensed puffed egg's jealousy. The two magical beasts tactfully squatted at the side and watched the show. Magical beasts were all proud. Even though they were now Yun Sheng's battle pets and magical beasts, they subconsciously thought that their companions' abilities were not inferior to theirs. Xiao Hei, the black centipede ant general, and the puffed egg were all top-notch magical beasts. Naturally, they had to observe carefully to see how powerful this new companion was. Seeing Tyrant Gold fall to the ground and not react for a long time, the puffed egg was delighted. Puff puff, now you know who is the most important magical beast to master. If I, the puffed egg, dare to claim to be second, no one will dare to claim to be first. Chapter 377. Puffed Egg said proudly. Just as it finished showing off, Tycoon Jean staggered up from the ground. Although it suffered a heavy blow, it was not injured at all. Puff puff. It didn't die. Puffed Egg was surprised. It could smash a person into a meat patty. Could not tell that Tycoon Jean had a strong vitality. Tyrant Gold twisted its neck and wrists, but before it could even move, its entire body was already making la 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 sounds. It sounded like beans being popped. Suddenly, it gathered strength under its feet and shot out like an arrow. Another loud bang was heard, followed by another loud sound. This time, it was Puffed Egg that flew out and smashed into the wall of the magical space. If Xiaohei and the Centipede Ant King were humans, their mouths would be wide open with it. "Oh my god. That's weird." Look on their faces. They had met their match. Poor Kiss Egg, you can only pray for your own good fortune. Puffed Egg slid down from the magical space. It took a while before it regained its senses. This heavy blow did not cause any damage to it. However, it was the first time it suffered such a heavy blow since it was born. It even felt like its eggshell was about to be smashed. The feeling of its eggshell being smashed was too aggrieved. "Puff Puff, you're shameless. You actually copied me. Shameless. Shameless." Puffed Egg was furious. That damn Tycoon Gene actually copied its special skill, the 1,000-kilogram fall. What made Puffed Egg even angrier was that it copied the skill perfectly. It even copied 20% to 30% of the skill's strength. Yun Xing, on the other hand, watched from the side without blinking. "Xiaohei." Yun Xing suddenly ordered Xiaohei, "Use your swallowing sky combat skill." Xiaohei was very obedient. It jumped up and raised its neck. "Oh whoa." After the wolf-like howl, the magical space turned dark. After the Devour the Heavens combat skill, Tycoon Gene suddenly raised his head and howled like a wolf. The magical space was instantly plunged into darkness. When the darkness dissipated again, Yun Sheng's eyes were filled with ecstasy. Puffed Egg, Xiaohei, and the Centipede Ant General were all dumbfounded. Although they were not humans, they were all high-ranked magical beasts and had the ability to think like humans. At this moment, they all understood Tycoon Jin's ability. "It's actually an imitation," Yun Xing exclaimed. Previously, she didn't know how to command Tycoon Jin, but now she realized that she didn't need to command it at all. Its only goal was to protect Yun Xing. Without Yun Xing's approval, neither humans nor magical beasts could get close to her. Yun Xing knew too little about Tycoon Jin. She decided to ask the old magician again. She put Tycoon Jin into the beast speech ring and left the magic space to find the old magician. She first handed the refined magic scepter to the old magician. Seeing that his magic scepter seemed to have been reborn, the old magician was very happy. As soon as the old magician was happy, Yun Xing hurriedly asked about the eternal magic weapon. The old magician didn't ask whether Yun Xing had used the hellfire or to refine the eternal magic weapon. He just took out a thick magic book and handed it to Yun Xing. "This is a magic weapon encyclopedia written by my master, an outstanding master refiner. Now that you have the hellfire, you can try to refine all kinds of magic weapons. I'll give you this book as a reward for helping me perfectly refine my magic scepter." The old magician urged Yun Xing to leave as soon as possible. He couldn't wait to see what kind of unexpected gains he had obtained after the purification of his magic scepter. Yun Xing held the magic book. It was a huge magic book with more than 300 pages. Sure enough, it recorded the refinement of various magic weapons. Yun Xing didn't have time to read it carefully and quickly flipped down. After counting down a few nights, she turned to the record about the eternal magic weapon. The eternal magic weapon was known as the King of Magic Weapons. It was a super magic weapon refined with the purest magic elements in the world. The eternal magic weapon, because of the different magic power and character of the refiner, the shape of the refined eternal magic weapon was also different. Its shape could be turned into a weapon, a magic scepter, a magic array, or a magical beast according to the preferences of the refiner. Among them, the rarest and most difficult to refine were the humanoid magic weapons. The humanoid magic weapon was also known as the King of Eternal Magic Weapons. When she saw this, Yun Sheng's eyebrows jumped. She didn't expect that the Tycoon Jin she accidentally refined was the legendary King of Eternal Magic Weapons. Yun Sheng hurriedly continued to read. The King of Magic Weapons. The reason why the humanoid magic weapon was terrifying was that it could learn like a human. Its greatest learning ability was imitation. Because of the appearance of a human, it could also grow like a human. According to the different formation and growth period, it could be divided into 4 types: primary, intermediate, advanced, and super. The power it exerted was also very different. The primary eternal magic weapon, like the current Tycoon Jin, could learn the enemy's combat skills and magic in an instant. Although these combat skills and magic were only superficial, it could only exert 20% of its power at most. The intermediate eternal magic weapon, on the other hand, could improve its combat skills and magic by itself and exert about 50% of its power. When it reached the advanced level, it could exert more than 80% of its power. If it could evolve to the super level, the humanoid magic weapon could even surpass its imitation target and exert up to 120% of its power. Wow! Yun Xing was very excited. That is to say, if her Tycoon gene could really evolve into a super magic weapon one day, doesn't that mean that it could use the opponent's moves to kill the opponent in an instant? This was very similar to the an eye for an eye in a martial arts novel that Yun Xing had read in modern times, but it was even more terrifying. Earlier, Yi Baiming said that she didn't have a reliable private guard. Yun Xing now found an irreplaceable private guard that is Tycoon gene. Unfortunately, this magic weapon encyclopedia also said that the existence of the humanoid magic weapon was a very heaven-defying existence. It was almost impossible to evolve it all the way from the primary level to the super level. Yun Xing continued to read, looking for a way to upgrade the level of the humanoid magic weapon. The fastest way to improve a humanoid magical artifact is to train it continuously in combat, so that it can learn different combat skills and magic during combat. Only through killing and imitating, especially when fighting against high-level opponents, can one continuously make breakthroughs. This point was easy to understand. Just like the modern exam-oriented students, the only way to improve their grades was to desperately do test papers and flood them with questions. Currently, Tycoon gene was only at the primary level and could only exert 20% of its power. It looked like it needed to be further strengthened. Yun Xing planned to upgrade it to the intermediate level as soon as possible so that it could exert about 50% of its power. Only then would it barely qualify as her personal guard. Finally, Yun Xing thought of a way to upgrade it quickly, and that was through combat. She decided to order Tycoon gene to go to the various hunter citadels during this period of time. There was only one purpose, and that was to continuously participate in combat and continuously learn other people's combat skills and magic. After closing the Magic Weapon Encyclopedia, Yun Xing left the Royal Academy of Magic. She first returned to the hunter encampment and found Zhou Quan. "Young master, why are you looking for me? Hey, who's that big blockhead behind you?" Zhou Quan glanced at the cloaked figure behind Yun Xing. "Tycoon gene. Thank you to Bookfriend 612 and Ruameng for their tips. The newly minted Eternal Magic Weapon Tycoon gene is a gift to Shuang Piaohong's tiger-slaying shoes. Excited? Recently, I've been updating 10,000 times. There are 2 more chapters in the afternoon. After a while, there will be more chapters. Please vote. After September, the recommendation votes and monthly votes are pitiful." Chapter 378. Tycoon Gold's appearance was too dazzling. Imagine what kind of uproar a human-shaped gold mountain would cause if it walked on the streets. Yun Xing simply found a large cloak and put a mask on it. "This is a new hunter I found in a tavern. It's mute. I'll give you a mission. For the next 6 months, you don't have to participate in any missions at the camp. You're only responsible for bringing it to the 13 hunter citadels in Zhou State and challenging them one by one." Once he heard that he wasn't being sent out for a mission, Zhou Quan immediately beamed with joy. But he didn't understand what young Master Yun was up to this time. Why would a new hunter go to the hunter citadels? "I want you to bring it and challenge all the matches in the 1300 citadels. Don't miss a single match. Remember, you have to record all the matches it wins and losses and report to me every other week." When Yun Xing said this, Zhou Quan immediately felt sorry for his unknown brother. There were 13 hunter citadels and all of them were fighting arenas. Even a man made of iron would be beaten to the ground. Zhou Quan didn't expect that the other party was really a man made of gold. But after Yun Xing's warning look, Zhou Quan immediately became serious. "Young Master Yun, don't worry. I'll record all the matches and events of this brother without missing a single word. Speaking of which, what's his name?" "You can call him Tycoon Gold." Yun Xing waved her hand, indicating that Zhou Quan shouldn't ask any more questions and should leave quickly. Zhou Quan agreed readily and promised Yun Xing that he would return in half a year. Yun Xing left the hunting grounds and returned to the medical hall. When Lin Yaoer saw her, she couldn't help but nag. "My ancestor, you're finally back. I haven't seen you for 3 days. If GMO hadn't told me that you were going to the Royal Magic Academy, I would have really thought that you had gone missing." Yun Xing was going to the Imperial Magic Academy for only one purpose, which was to cultivate in the Magic Tower. Lin Yaoer knew this as well. "Did I say that I'm going to the Royal Magic Academy?" Yun Xing was puzzled. When did she tell GMO? Then he looked at Jimo, who was immersed in his work. "Let's not talk about this anymore. While you were away, the sea buckthorns in Zhouchu village have already sprouted," Lin Yaoer said with a face full of joy. Not only that, she and Dr. Fan also inquired about several remote villages similar to Zhouchu village. Lin Yaoer intended to wait for Yun Xing to return before heading to those villages to inspect them. The earlier they could solve the problem of the supply of medicinal herbs, the faster the little Xiantong would be able to recover and compete with the Medicine Emperor Pavilion. In the next few months, Yun Sheng and Lin Yao would occasionally bring GMO along. With Yujing as the center, they gradually spread out and built more than 10 magic herb villages in Zhou State. The zone personality helped to direct the magical beasts to carry out the transportation. Unknowingly, 3 months had passed. Because of the magic to cultivate the herbs, the first batch of herbs in Zhou Chutsuan's village grew especially smoothly. The sea buckthorns, which normally took a year to mature, only took 3 months to bloom and bear fruit. The formerly barren Zhouchu village was now filled with the fragrance of medicinal herbs. The fruits of the sea buckthorns were like coral fruits hanging on the branches. Under the leadership of the village chief, the hard-working villagers collected the first batch of sea buckthorns. After they collected the sea buckthorns, they dried them and then transported them to the little Xiantong, ready to hand them over to Yun Sheng for inspection. "Father, you can rest assured that my sister and I will definitely deliver the medicinal herbs safely." The one in charge of this important transportation was the village chief's 9-year-old eldest son. The eldest son of the village chief, Rihua, was found to have a touch of fire element in his body during the magic test. He was chosen by Yunxing and brought back to the clinic. After consuming the moon goddess's tribute, his physique had indeed changed. What was even more gratifying was that the magical elements in his body had mutated as a result, and he had become a wind and fire elemental mage. Considering his good aptitude, Yunxing also personally taught him the basic wind and fire element magic. He could barely be regarded as Yun Sheng's first disciple. This was a supreme honor for the village chief's family. For this reason, the whole family regarded Yun Sheng as their savior. The first transportation of medicinal herbs in the village was naturally handed over to him. Who knew that when Rihua was about to leave, his youngest sister, the girl Rihua, climbed on the back of a giant winged green bat. The little girl said seriously, "I want to go with my brother. I won't make trouble. I won't make trouble for my brother. I can also help my brother command the big birds." Little Yun was only 4.5 years old. She was now familiar with the giant winged green bats and liked to call them big birds. When the village chief and his wife heard this, they couldn't help but smile. It was strange to say that their little girl was not only not afraid of magical beasts, but also had a good relationship with these ferocious big guys. She wasn't boasting. Although she was young, her ability to command these giant winged green bats had even been praised by the master of personality. Little Hua's magic talent was not bad, but her command of these giant winged green bats was not as good as his little sister's. Thinking that their little daughter had not even been to the Jade capital once since she was born, the village chief and his wife's hearts couldn't help but soften. They discussed for a while and instructed little Hua and a few adults in the village to take good care of little Yun. Only then did they let everyone go down the mountain in the daylight. Zhou Chutsuan's medicinal herbs team flew slowly through the air. This was the first transportation, so there were a total of 10 giant winged green bats. Little Hua and her sister, little Yun, sat on the first giant winged green bat. The two siblings sat on the magical beast and looked at Zhou Chutsuan, who was constantly shrinking, as their parents' figures gradually disappeared. They didn't know that a terrible crisis was about to happen on their journey. Under the dense bushes, a group of people was lying in ambush. They were a few people dressed as hunters. They had been lying in ambush here for a while. One of them raised his head to look at the sky and stood up. This person was Qi Fengfei. Medicine Man Qi, I didn't say wrongly, right? The people of Little Xiantong are indeed secretly planting medicinal herbs outside. I've asked around, the village on the mountain is called Zhou Chutsuan. A few months ago, a few strangers brought a batch of medicinal herb seeds and gave the village chief a large sum of money, saying that they wanted them to help plant the medicinal herbs. The one who spoke was Cheng Sihai. Ever since he was taught a lesson by Yun Sheng and had his doctor tablet taken away from him, he had lost his livelihood. He couldn't be a doctor anymore, so he was reduced to being an unlicensed doctor in a hunting group. A few days ago, when he went out with the hunting group, he happened to meet a villager from Zhou Chutsuan. After asking around, he heard that Zhou Chutsuan was planting medicinal herbs, and the one who asked them to plant the medicinal herbs was a medical hall in the Jade capital called Little Xiantong. After Cheng Sihai received this news, it was as if he had received a treasure. He ran back to the Medicine Emperor Pavilion and told the news to Qi Fengfei. Chapter 379. Since Qi Fangfei was rejected by Yun Xing, she became even more aggressive in suppressing the supply of medicinal herbs to little Ci Entong, but who would have thought that the other party didn't respond? Just as she was feeling puzzled, the news that Cheng Sihai brought back gave her a huge shock. At first she didn't believe it. Growing medicinal herbs in such a remote village required a lot of manpower and material resources, and transportation was also a problem. Moreover, she had clearly ordered all the pharmacies in the country not to provide high-quality medicinal herb seeds to little Ci Entong. So where did Yun Xing get those medicinal herb seeds from? Qi Fangfei used a lot of means to inquire about the supply of little Ci Entong's seeds. It turned out to be the largest chamber of commerce in the endless continent, Everlasting Chamber of Commerce. This amazing news made Qi Fangfei reevaluate the strength of little Ci Entong. After all, Everlasting Chamber of Commerce was famous for recognizing money and not people. Even Everlasting Chamber of Commerce could use their influence. The strength of little Ci Entong was far more powerful than she initially imagined. Qi Fangfei didn't dare to take it lightly. She hired Cheng Sihai's hunting corps and ordered them to ambush near Zhouchu village, but they found an even more amazing secret. Magic herb manor? Using magical beasts to transport the herbs. When she learned these two truths, Qi Fangfei could no longer sit still. She immediately followed the hunting corps and ambushed them on the only way to Jade Capital from Zhouchu village. Qi Fangfei knew that it was impossible for her to directly clash with Yun Sheng. Yun Sheng had the Yun Residence, the Heaven Extermination Hunting Group, and that powerful Saint Beast Summoner behind her. Qi Fangfei patiently waited until she heard that Yun Sheng and Zhong Yi were not in Jade Capital these days. Only then did she start her plan. She guessed that after Yun Sheng's medicinal herbs were cultivated with magic, the medicinal herbs would mature in the near future. Once the medicinal herbs matured, they would be transported down the mountain. At this time, it was the best time for her to take action. After waiting for nearly 3 days, she finally saw the figure of the giant winged green bat. On the back of the giant winged green bat, there were some villagers and bundles of dried medicinal herbs. Even from afar, the quality of the herbs was very good. He must not let little Ci Entong obtain these herbs smoothly, otherwise the consequences would be unimaginable. Immediately kill this team that is transporting medicinal herbs. Qi Fangfei observed for a moment, and after confirming that there were no abnormalities in the surroundings, she ordered the hunting corps to attack immediately. Kill? But the Kirin are just a bunch of weak villagers. There are even a few children among them. After receiving the order, the hunters were somewhat hesitant. For this ambush, they had prepared a large number of crossbows and arrows. The mages among the hunters had also turned out in full force. However, they did not expect that the other party was just a group of innocent villagers. Just do as I say. Are you afraid that I won't pay? Qi Fangfei said angrily. The hunters looked at each other, but in the end, they did not resist. Since they had received the other party's money, they had to complete the other party's request. Not only that, these hunting troops had to lick the blood of their blades every day. They didn't dare to offend the Medicine Emperor Pavilion. High up in the air, the villagers of Zhouchu village were still savoring the joy of their first harvest. They did not know that on the ground, several dozen crossbows were aimed at them. Brother Xiao Yun also wants to be a mage. Xiao Yun was hugging her brother's neck and asking him questions. In her heart, a magician like Miracle Dr. Yun was the most awe-inspiring. In the future she must be like Miracle Dr. Yun. She was beautiful and knew powerful magic. I will. Brother will personally teach Xiao Yun magic in the future. Xiao Hua pinched his sister's nose dotingly. All of a sudden he became alert. The sensitivity of a wind elemental mage was beyond that of an ordinary person. Xiao Hua heard a slight fluctuation in the air. He looked down and his eyes suddenly widened. Countless arrows dipped in poison shot up from below. Almost at the same time, all kinds of magic attacks were shot out. Quick! Everyone, immediately command the giant winged green bats to fly past this area. By the time Xiao Hua discovered it, it was already too late. A group of hunters who had been through life and death situations shot out countless crossbows and magic. How could a group of villagers withstand it? The giant winged green bats were very ordinary magic beasts. They did not know how to attack and their defensive power was only average. After being frightened, they immediately threw the villagers off. Help! The villagers fell from the sky like locusts. The herbs flew all over the sky like snow in June. Xiao Yun hold on to the green bats tightly. Don't let go. Xiao Hua panicked when he saw the villagers from the same village being shot by arrows. After all, he was only a 9-year-old child. In a moment of desperation, his mind was blank. There was only one thought in his mind, which was to protect his sister. At this moment, a hidden arrow suddenly pierced his shoulder. Immediately, blood flowed from his shoulder. Xiao Hua clenched his teeth and began chanting intermittently. He cast a wind-type spell on the green bat beneath him. "I'll fight it out with you." Immediately, a fireball shot out from his magic scepter and attacked the hunters who were lying in ambush below. "There's a mage in the team. Kill him immediately." When they discovered that there was a mage in the team escorting the herbs, the hunters immediately targeted the giant winged green bat that Xiao Hua was on. Countless arrows and magic spells. In the sky, a rain of blood fell. Xiao Yun listened to her brother's words and lay motionless on the back of the green bat. Under the effect of the wind magic, they staggered all the way to the Jade Capital. In the Jade Capital, around dusk, Lin Yao was counting the income of the day in the little Ciantong. GMO was at the side helping to record the accounts. GMO's brows suddenly tightened. He looked outside the medical hall. He only heard a thump outside as if something heavy fell. Then there was a burst of crying of a little girl. Lin Yao and GMO hurriedly rushed out. In the sky above the little Ciantong, a heavily injured giant winged green bat suddenly fell. On top of it there was a little person who was shivering. "Xiaoyun, what happened to you?" Lin Yao remembered that today was the day when the first batch of herbs was delivered from Zhouchu village. The villagers responsible for delivering the herbs should have arrived long ago. Earlier Lin Yao was secretly puzzled. Why did they wait from morning to evening and still not see the villagers? Looking at the situation, the villagers had encountered a sneak attack on the way. Sneak attack. Lin Yao's eyebrows jumped. Currently, Miracle Dr. Yun was not in the city. Who could be so despicable? "Don't ask first, she is injured." GMO quickly walked forward. Xiao Yun was scared speechless, but she still followed her brother's instructions and hugged the giant winged green bat. "Xiao Yun, I am Brother Ji. Don't be afraid, you are already safe. Let go of your hand." GMO's body seemed to be emitting an invisible warmth as he softly comforted Xiao Yun. Xiao Yun was in a daze. She recognized GMO and let go of her hand, tightly hugging GMO. GMO looked behind her and found that half of the arrowhead had already sunk into her flesh. Damn it, they actually used such a heavy hand on a child. GMO only took a glance and was sure that if the arrow was an inch deeper, Xiao Yun's life would have been gone. This child was really lucky. Even after suffering such a serious injury, she could still come back. Dr. Fan heard the movement outside and rushed out. When he saw Xiao Yun's pale face, he couldn't help but change his complexion. "Quickly take the child inside and treat her wound immediately. Otherwise, if the arrow is delayed for an hour, the child's life will not be saved." Yunsheng was not here, so he had to do it. "No, you can't pull out the arrow." GMO, who had always been silent in the medical hall, stopped Dr. Fan this time. Chapter 380. If you don't pull out the arrow, this child will die. Dr. Fan was also angry. Although Yunsheng had the final say in the little Ciantong, today Yunsheng was not here. Among the doctors in the little Ciantong, he was the most authoritative one. Dr. Fan didn't hate GMO, but he felt that the boy was too quiet and too indifferent. She couldn't hold on. The arrow was only an inch away from her heart and lungs. Plus, she had been rushing for a long time. Her blood has long been exhausted. "Pulling out the arrow is tantamount to killing her with my own hands," GMO calmly replied. "How did you?" Dr. Fan still wanted to ask, but GMO had already picked up Xiao Yun and walked to the backyard. "Hey boy, don't just walk. What are you going to do? Don't mess around." Dr. Fan had to follow. Who knew that GMO would go straight to his room and lock the door? "Dr. Fan, don't stop." GMO. Miracle Dr. Yun said that if she's not around and something happens, GMO should handle it. Lin Yao did not know that Yunsheng was already suspicious of GMO's identity. She only knew that before Miracle Dr. Yun went out this time, she had said that if the medical hall really encountered a difficult patient, if Dr. Fan was not confident in treating it, he should hand it over to GMO. Lin Yao was a little puzzled at first. Could it be that an ordinary magician was more powerful than Dr. Fan? Seeing that there was no movement in GMO's room, Lin Yao and Dr. Fan couldn't just wait. The two of them returned to the medical hall and moved the seriously injured green bat into the medical hall. After Dr. Fan examined it, he found that there were magic attacks and arrow wounds on the green bat's body. All the herbs are gone. Also this time there should be 10 giant winged green bats. There is only one left, I'm afraid. Lin Yao didn't say anything else. She and Dr. Fan already knew that something big must have happened during the transportation of herbs. Dr. Fan was still waiting in the medical hall. Lin Yao went out of the city that night to look for Yun Songlong. After Yun Songlong learned the news, he hurriedly rushed to Zhouchu village with a group of hunters. At the foot of Zhouchu village, they found a large number of villagers' corpses and plundered medicinal herbs. At this time, Dr. Fan was still waiting in the medical hall. The door to Ji Mo's room opened and he walked out alone. There was a trace of tiredness on his plain face, but there was a smile on his lips. "Where's little Yun?" Dr. Fan couldn't wait to rush into the room. He saw that on the bed Xiao Yun was sleeping well. She didn't have her previous pale appearance. Her small face was flushed red. She looked like she was tired and fell asleep. The arrowhead on her back was gone. Even the bloodstains and wounds had all disappeared. Seeing such a situation, Dr. Fan was startled and walked out of the room. GMO was currently standing in the courtyard of the medical center. The snow-like moonlight sprinkled on the youth's face. His face, which was unremarkable during the day, now had a special charm to it. "Who are you?" Dr. Fan's expression was dignified as he stared at GMO. That kind of healing method was not something that could be done with ancient medical skills, nor was it something that ordinary mages could do. In the entire continent, there was only one type of magic that could achieve such an effect, and that was light magic. Furthermore, based on Xiao Yun's recovery, GMO's cultivation in light magic was definitely not weak. GMO didn't want to say more and turned to leave. "You're a light mage? You're from the Dharma Temple. Does Xing'er know your identity?" Dr. Fan questioned. In Dr. Fan's heart, Yun Xing was still a child, no matter how good her medical skills were. He didn't want anyone with disloyalty to stay in the medical hall. He also didn't want GMO to hurt Yun Xing. Even though he didn't sense the slightest bit of hostility from GMO, light magicians were generally straightforward and upright people, but even if there was a little threat, Dr. Fan still had to take precautions in advance. GMO was about to answer when there was a knock on the door of the medical hall. Yun Songlong's voice came from outside the room. Dr. Fan frowned. "Kid, I don't care where you came from. If you dare to hurt Xing'er, I, Fan Ji, will be the first to not let you off." Dr. Fan hurriedly went to open the door, but GMO didn't say a word. After a long time he sighed softly. If it wasn't for the fact that he had no other choice, he also didn't want to be enemies with Yun Xing. These few months were the happiest days of his life. And his happiness was only because of a certain person's existence. Yun Songlong rushed over with Xiao Yun's father and a few villagers. "Doctor, my daughter, she..." The village chief's eyes were red. He already knew that a group of villagers including Xiao Hua had been killed. During the day he had personally watched his son and daughter leave. He didn't expect that in just one day his son would die and his daughter would be seriously injured. This kind of result was almost unacceptable to him. He didn't dare to tell the child's mother the news, so he rushed over with a few of the villagers who had been killed. "Xiao Yun's injuries have been cured, thanks to GMO. You guys come in first. What exactly happened?" Dr. Fan asked everyone to come in. Yun Songlong told Dr. Fan his findings. They carried out a carpet search at the place where the villagers were killed. Because of the sky, their findings were very limited. However, they still found some messy footsteps in the bushes and woods, as well as some abandoned weapons. It was obvious that this was done by a well-trained hunting team. The villagers of Zhouchu village had always been aloof from worldly affairs. The village had always been poor, and even ordinary bandits were unwilling to rob the village. This group of hunters must have been ordered to do such a vicious thing. "Dr. Fan, do you have any clues about this matter? Xing'er is not in the city right now, and Master Zhong Ren is also not here. We must find out the whole story as soon as possible." Yun Songlong couldn't help but blame himself. He also knew that Yun Xing had been running the magic medicine shop recently. He should have reminded her to be careful. With Yun Songlong's understanding of Yun Xing, if she knew that the villagers were killed because of her negligence, she would definitely blame herself. Dr. Fan didn't answer, even though he already had the answer in his heart. "Let's wait for Xing'er to talk about everything. Group leader Yun, I'll have to trouble you to station some hunters in the village and at the foot of the mountain. I'll leave Xiao Yun in your care for the time being." Yun Songlong could only give up. He arranged for Xiao Yun's father and the villagers to rest in the city. He planned to wait a few days for Yun Xing to return before making any plans. After sending Yun Songlong off, Lin Yao closed the door of the clinic. She still had to rush back to the Imperial Magic Academy. Dr. Fan went to see Xiao Yun again. After confirming that her condition was stable, he left. It was already very late at night, but Dr. Fan didn't rest. He walked out of the clinic alone and walked in the direction of Yujing City. At this time it was already around the third watch. The sound of the night watchman could be heard on the streets of Yujing City. Dr. Fan walked to the outside of the Medicine Emperor Pavilion. Chapter 381. As the largest medical hall in the Jade capital, the Medicine Emperor Pavilion was open all night long. Even at night, the side door of the Medicine Emperor Pavilion would still be open. Every night, there would be a doctor at the level of Dr. Ling. Tonight, the doctor was Yao Rong. "It's you." Yao Rong didn't even raise her head as she continued to arrange the prescriptions she had given out today. "It's you all who did it." Dr. Fan's gaze was cold. Until today, when he saw the bloodied little Yun and the grief-stricken villagers, he realized that he had drifted further and further away from the Medicine Emperor Pavilion. "What are you talking about? If you are here to see a doctor or to exchange pointers, the Medicine Emperor Pavilion will welcome you. But if you are here to question the Medicine Emperor Pavilion because the little Ci Antong is at a disadvantage, then you can leave now." Yao Rong could also smell the smell of gunpowder from Dr. Fan. "Stop pretending. The people of Zhouchu village were killed by you all. Also, the matter of blocking the supply of medicinal herbs to the little Ci Antong was also done by you all. To think that the Medicine Emperor Pavilion would be afraid of the rise of a small medical hall and do such despicable things." Although Dr. Fan had already separated himself from the Medicine Emperor Pavilion, in his heart, the Medicine Emperor Pavilion had always been the place where he learned his medical skills. He had never fought against the Medicine Emperor Pavilion head-on before. But this time around, the actions of the Medicine Emperor Pavilion had thoroughly infuriated him. "What Zhouchu village? What hunters? I don't know anything about it." Yao Rong's face was blank. "Go and ask Qi Fengfei. Tell her that even a dog will jump over a wall when it is anxious. This time I will not let this matter rest. The blood debt of Zhouchu village will be repaid by the Medicine Emperor Pavilion sooner or later." After Dr. Fan finished speaking, he angrily pulled out an item from his waist and threw it on the ground. Yao Rong looked over and saw that the item Dr. Fan threw down was his physician token. His actions, did it mean that he wanted to sever all ties with the Medicine Emperor Pavilion? Yao Rong's face was filled with anxiety. She wanted to ask something, but before she could open her mouth, Fan Ji had already left in anger. Looking at the physician token on the ground, Yao Rong understood that this time, Fan Ji really had nothing to do with the Medicine Emperor Pavilion. "Wait." Qi Fengfei walked down the stairs. Deep into the night, the lights in the Medicine Emperor Pavilion were dim. Qi Fengfei walked out of the light and darkness like an evil spirit from hell. She looked a bit eerie. Yao Rong's complexion greatly changed. She hurriedly picked up the doctor's card on the ground, wanting to cover up for Dr. Fan. "I was the one who did it." Yao Rong didn't know anything about it. "Fan Ji, are you very angry and want to kill me?" Qi Fengfei slowly walked to Dr. Fan's side and provoked him with her eyes. "Are you still a human? Are you still a doctor?" Xiao Yun's brother was only 9 years old. He fell from a high altitude and even his bones couldn't be found. Dr. Fan said while gnashing his teeth. The young Xiao Yun reminded him of his daughter who had died young. The grief-stricken villagers made him constantly remember the pain of losing his daughter. If you want to blame someone, you can only blame them for working for little Ci Antong. You should know that the status of the Medicine Emperor Pavilion is unshakable. Whoever dares to touch them will die. Also, you have joined forces with Yun Xing many times to offend the Medicine Emperor Pavilion. Do you think that you can still leave here safely? Qi Fengfei's complexion was sinister as a vicious light flashed through her eyes. Her 5 fingers, which were hidden under her sleeves, emitted a dense green light. "Medicine Man Qi, you promised me that you would let him go." Only now did Yao Rong know that Medicine Man Qi had really done something to the innocent villagers. During this period of time, due to the rise of little Ci Antong, Medicine Man Qi had reorganized the Medicine Emperor Pavilion. In the Medicine Emperor Pavilion, if there was any slight disobedience, they would be expelled or even disappear for no reason. The entire Medicine Emperor Pavilion was now in a state of panic. As the third seat of the Medicine Emperor Pavilion in the Jade capital, Yao Rong didn't dare to speak out. However, she had never thought that Qi Fengfei would be so crazy as to kill innocent villagers in order to keep little Ci Antong in check. No wonder Fan Ji was so abnormal tonight. Yao Rong and Fan Ji had been practicing medicine for many years with the purpose of healing the wounded and saving the dying. After Fan Ji left, Yao Rong had been bitterly holding on. She had never thought that Qi Fangfei's actions would completely topple her beliefs. Imperial Physician Yao, I promised you to let him go because he is your man. I promised that as long as he knew his place and continued to be his physician and you were willing to be loyal to the Medicine Emperor Pavilion, I would let him go. However, he became restless. Not only did he take in an extremely daring lass, he even managed little Ci Entong with her. After all, he is someone from the Medicine Emperor Pavilion and knows too much. I can't let him go. Qi Fangfei suddenly flashed and a green shadow appeared in her hand. Her 5 claws were incomparably cold as she grabbed towards Dr. Fan's neck. Her 5 claws emitted a cold air. With one look, one could tell that they had been dipped in poison. Fanji, leave quickly. Yao Rong threw herself onto Fanji's body. When Qi Fangfei came down, Yao Rong was already on guard. When she made her move, Yao Rong wanted to protect Fanji. Fanji was still immersed in Qi Fangfei's words. It turned out that he had misunderstood Yao Rong. He thought that it was because she coveted her reputation and was unwilling to give up the generous salary of the Medicine Emperor Pavilion and her reputation as an imperial physician. That was why she was unwilling to leave the Medicine Emperor Pavilion. Who would have thought that everything she did was for him? It was too late for Fanji to regret. Fanji only felt a warmth in front of him. Yao Rong's delicate face was just inches away from him. Before he could see the emotions on Yao Rong's face, Qi Fangfei's hand had already fiercely slapped Yao Rong's body. A terrifying sound of bones breaking was heard. Yao Rong's body shook heavily and a green cloud immediately covered her face. What a powerful poison. Idiot. Since you love each other so much, I'll let you both die together. After Qi Fangfei's attack succeeded, she did not stop. She would rather lose an imperial physician and kill Fanji as well. Suddenly, a strong light flashed. Qi Fangfei's hand that was about to touch Fanji bounced back as if she was burned by flames. When she turned around, Yao Rong and Fanji had already disappeared. Who is it? Qi Fangfei was flustered and exasperated. She did not even see who the opponent was and saved them. This made her very angry. On the street, there was a sound of rapid breathing. Dr. Fan was holding Yao Rong. Before he could react, they had already left the Medicine Emperor Pavilion. He thought that this time he would definitely die. It's you? Dr. Fan thought that tonight he and Yao Rong would definitely die. However, he did not expect that GMO would actually save him. The one who broke into the Medicine Emperor Pavilion and secretly saved Dr. Fan and his wife was GMO. At this moment, he had already changed into a set of night clothes. His body was still emitting a dense magic element. Dr. Fan recognized the light magic element at a glance. Ever since Dr. Fan knew about Zhou Chutsuan, his expression was not good. Yun Songlong did not pay much attention to it, but GMO who was at the side saw it clearly. After Dr. Fan left the Medicine Emperor Pavilion alone, he had been following behind. Only when Qi Fangfei made a move did GMO save them. Dr. Fan still wanted to ask, but Yao Rong who was in his arms had already been poisoned. Her face was green and her lips had already turned dark purple. Chapter 382. Qi Fangfei was Wendagua's medicine man, but who would have thought that her most powerful skill was poison? This poison was incomparably poisonous. As long as one touched it, they would turn into pus in an instant. Yao Rong was a medical practitioner. She had been in contact with all kinds of medicinal herbs all year round. Her resistance to poison was much better than the average person. That was why she could hold on until now. But now she looked like she was about to die. Rong, how could you be so foolish? You blocked that attack for me. All these years I have misunderstood you. Dr. Fan felt guilty and pity for Yao Rong. Gee, I brought this upon myself. I shouldn't have disobeyed you at that time. Our child? Yao Rong's face was already full of tears. The husband and wife finally buried the hatchet. But what awaited them was an eternal separation. Dr. Fan's expression was sorrowful. He suddenly raised his head and looked at GMO. I don't care who you are. You know light magic. You can save my wife, right? I beg you save her. GMO didn't say a word. He just looked at Yao Rong. He and Yao Rong had met a few times. But his nature was cold and his feelings for people were also very indifferent. When he first saw Yao Rong, he was sure that this person would not live for long and would die young. His master had once warned him. When Su, you must know that you have the heaven's eye. You can see through people's life and death. But a person's fate can only be determined by the heavens. If you change it for your own selfish reasons, you will eventually damage your own fortune. The more your fortune is damaged, the more dangerous it will be when you face a great calamity in the future. Therefore, you must not change someone's fate without permission. Even more so, you should not save someone who should not be saved. Today, when he saw Xiao Yun, because of her appearance, although there was a bloody disaster, she would not die. That was why he saved her. But Yao Rong was different. Her eyes were lifeless and her face was dark. She was about to die. Seeing GMO hesitate, Fan Zhi's expression became even more miserable. I'm sorry, I can't save her. Her poison is very strong. I used light magic today, so I can't save her. GMO's words made Dr. Fan feel as if he was struck by lightning. Dr. Fan was also a magician. He knew that every time a light magician used light magic, they would need to consume a lot of magic power. Within a day, it would be very difficult to use light magic twice. I don't blame you, it's all fate. Rong, in this life I've let you down. Don't worry, in the next life I definitely won't let you down. Dr. Fan's tears flowed like rain. He held Yao Rong and swayed as he prepared to leave. Wait a moment. Jimo's heart was moved. He didn't know why, but his heart was faintly moved when he heard Dr. Fan's words. It gave birth to compassion in his heart. I can't save her, but I think there's someone who can. Xing hasn't come back yet. No one can save her, Dr. Fan understood very well. If Yun Xing was here, maybe there was still hope for Yao Rong. Go find that poison brat. He may not be good at other things, but when it comes to poison, I'm afraid he's even better than Yun Xing. Jimo's reminder woke Dr. Fan up from his dream. He remembered that there was also a person called Abandoned. Abandoned, who was known as Poison Brat, was indeed an expert in poison. Dr. Fan no longer hesitated. He picked up Yao Rong and rushed to the Wanlong gambling house. At this time, Abandoned should still be in the gambling house. Looking at Dr. Fan, who was running away, GMO seemed to understand. What was the feeling of love? Why would it make people change so much? GMO's reminder was not wrong. After Dr. Fan found Abandoned, he checked Yao Rong's wound. He used little Qing to absorb most of the poison in Yao Rong's body. After absorbing the poison, Yao Rong's life would not be in danger for a short time. The rest of the removal of the remaining poison was left to Dr. Fan to slowly remove the poison in Yao Rong's body. When Yun Xing returned to Jade Capital, it was already 7 days later. She and Zhong Yi went out to look for a suitable magic pharmacy. It could be said that it went smoothly. Who would have thought that when she returned to Little Xiantong, what awaited her was the bad news of Zhou Chuzuan and Yao Rong, who was left in Little Xiantong. After knowing the whole story, Yun Sheng's face was gloomy. However, she did not rush to the Medicine Emperor Pavilion to denounce them as expected. Yun Sheng understood that since Qi Fangfei dared to do that, she must have made full preparations. Not to mention that she did not know which hunting corps she hired. Based on her understanding of Qi Fangfei, that woman was very vicious and merciless. She might have already secretly dealt with the hunting corps. As for reporting it to the government, it was even more impossible. Not long after Yao Rong left, the Medicine Emperor Pavilion released a public announcement to abolish Yao Rong's identity as an imperial physician. They even supported Cheng Sihai to become the new imperial physician. The Medicine Emperor Pavilion in Jade Capital was deeply rooted. Presumably, they also had many pawns in the imperial court of Zhou State. Are we just going to let it go like this? Also, because of Zhou Chuzuan's matter, the other villages that had promised to help us grow medicinal herbs all went back on their word. Lin Yao was furious. Seeing that everyone's efforts over the past few months and the villagers' blood feud couldn't be avenged, she couldn't wait to kill her way to the Medicine Emperor Pavilion. No, it's the opposite. We can't do it openly, but we can do it secretly. Yun Xing already had an idea in her heart. She first went to visit Yao Rong and learned that the couple had reconciled. She was very happy for Dr. Fan. Dr. Fan, this time it's all thanks to you. Little Yun's injury is not a big problem. The arrival of Imperial Physician Yao also brought a new force to our Little Xiantong. Yun Sheng couldn't help but make fun of the couple when she saw that they were loving each other. She saw that Little Yun's injury was treated very well, and she almost didn't see any wounds. Naturally, she thought that it was done by Dr. Fan. Dr. Fan's eyes flashed, but in the end he didn't say anything about GMO. Thank you, Dr. Yun. I will also call you Xing. I have offended you before, I hope you won't take it to heart. Yao Rong nodded towards Yun Xing. Aji, go and pour me a glass of water, I am a little thirsty. Yao Rong looked at Yun Xing and sent Fan Ji away. As soon as Dr. Fan left, Yao Rong also sat up. The poison in her body had almost been cleared, but her body was still very weak. Xing, you didn't come here today just to see me, right? Compared to Dr. Fan, Yao Rong was more intelligent. She was able to sit on the third seat in the Medicine Emperor Pavilion. Needless to say, her medical skills were also very good. She could also see that Yun Xing was not the kind of person who would give up easily. From the previous times when she attacked the Medicine Emperor Pavilion, this time, Yun Xing would not let the matter of Zhou Chutzuan go. Imperial Physician Yao is indeed very smart. You should have already guessed the purpose of my visit. I just don't know, are you willing to help me? Yun Xing smiled faintly. The two women, who were quite different in age, had a tacit understanding when they smiled. In this tacit understanding, there was a mutual appreciation, and at the same time, there was also a deep appreciation. You want me to tell you the weakness of the Medicine Emperor Pavilion? Yao Rong laughed softly. Actually, you don't have to worry about it. When Qi Fangfei tried to kill me, I had already died once. Yao Rong was disappointed that her master, Wen Guoshu, did not interfere. Since the Medicine Emperor Pavilion was no longer the Medicine Emperor Pavilion in her memory, why should she be merciful? Who said that men were heartless? When women were heartless, they were much more ruthless than men. When Dr. Fan returned, Yun Xing and Yao Rong were talking and laughing, looking like good friends. Thank you for Lu Li and Yu's reward. Start at your tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.